Hello, everyone. Gotta wait for the camera to load. Uh, maybe. Also, I realize I just didn't prepare enough. For. Oh, we appear to be having technical issues. Okay. So now we have to fix the camera. What could possibly be wrong this week? I wonder. Okay, alright. Well, we're just gonna mess with settings on video.ninja until it works again. And then we're going to marvel at that. Oh, there I am. Beep. All right, we'll just put this back. Put it back. Put it back. Okay, no, that's not good. There we go. Excellent. Excellent. My hair looks like a mess again. That's because I showered before stream. And, I've only been allowing my hair to dry for 20 minutes because, I thought, yes, we'll get into stream and we'll be fine. What is wrong here? No, it's good. I'm just gonna make sure the stream health thingy is working. So that way, if the stream dies, I'll know about it. Also, yeah, I kind of just sat here and was cooling off from the shower. So I didn't really do a lot of preparation. All right, we're gonna have to comb through the available PNGs to see if I have one for this. I hope so. Just for fun, we're gonna go into the documents folder and see what's in there. This is mostly just like, oh, there's ESO stuff in here. That brings back memories. Okay, so that is okay. So we need to find a PNG. Also, staring at the screen like that and looking at my camera. Oh my god, I stared too hard. I stared too close. All right. We gotta find it. We gotta find it. Bold by design. Wait a second. Ah, so Google searching. Yes, Google searching for this. Google searching for diesel. The first thing is, of course, the cigars from the diesel website. The next thing is a diesel is a kit to repair diesel engines. Both of these results make sense. However, it is really funny that there is a diesel engine repair kit called Diesels Unlimited. That's funny to me. All right, we're gonna find the correct PNG. It's this one. Why are you sideways? Why are you sideways? Why are you sideways? Oh. Also, there is a perfume called Diesel Fuel for Life Unlimited. It is a women's perfume. What? All right, you know what? I'm gonna open that in a tab. We're gonna look at that. We're gonna look at that. Um, because that is bizarre. That's really fucking weird. Uh, that is a horrible PNG. What is wrong with me? It's probably not even a PNG. Uh, you are though. You're tiny though. Oh, that is really small. It's fine. It's fine. We just gotta apply paint. Okay. Crop. Why is it this size? Does it remember my last canvas size? How do computers remember? How did we trick them into doing that? What deception was utilized? Okay, we did that. All right. What? No thanks. I'd rather pay. Fuck. Oh, it's sold out. Okay. All right. We gotta go back. We gotta go back. We gotta go back. All right. So Fragrance X does not have the Amazon.com. Funny how that works. All right. It is currently unavailable on Amazon.com. But we will find it. Oh, it's German. Ah. Well, we learned all we needed to know. It's German. Although, do they have a... Yep. Yeah, this is definitely German fashion. Why is he making a kissy face? What the fuck? Oh yeah, this is definitely German fashion. Well, it's funny that I can tell that. Yeah. Okay, so we need to leave this dark for a few minutes. My eyeballs don't burn out of their sockets. Yeah, where is the cutter? It's right there. Okay. Alright. Looking at screen, need to look at camera. And, you know, just kind of keep chatting peripheral. One of my boys said that he would be joining the chat room, and he'll get to listen to me talk about, you know, a soap opera that I watch, and then I'll talk about how my life is kind of like a soap opera. Yeah, it's good. Also, one nostril is clogged. This will fix that. Yeah. I have a clogged nostril. This will fix that. Also, I realized I didn't even put the fucking thing in here. This is gonna be really, 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 this is gonna look really bad. How bad does it look on YouTube? Full screen. See how bad it looks on YouTube. Also, I look absolutely insane. Good lord, I need my hair to dry so I don't look like such a fucking... I look like a greasy psychopath. That doesn't look terrible. Then again, I also look terrible. So, okay. Works for me. It's good enough for me. And if it's good enough for me, it's good enough for your bitch ass. Alright? I don't know why I said that. Probably because it's directed. Probably because I'm waiting on the boys. And, you know, that's directed at them. Alright? Alright, so one thing I don't like about the Diesel, like, foot bands, at least these ones, is that they are so, you know, they're just simple, you know, like, they feel like construction paper. And they're so thin that more often than not, what happens is when I go to peel, my fingernail will catch in between the layers, and I'll just peel the top layer of paper off, you know, leading to frustration. But, you know, that time I managed to get it by, you know, sitting here and picking at it funny. I still can't see. Okay, also, what is that? We need the headlamp for this one. Is that a flaw in my cigar? No. That's just a piece of leaf. Okay. Actually, you know, let's look at this thing. Let's look at this thing for flaws. I did peer up for just a... Oh, God. That's in my face. Alright. I'm gonna just look down. I'm gonna angle this up. And hopefully not blind you guys. While I look for flaws on the cigar. Okay. Okay. Also, I've noticed that there's a lot of oil still in... There's a lot of oils still intact. Uh, I mean, on the wrapper leaf, which obviously I'd hope so. But there are some spots on this, and I've realized it's impossible to see with the lighting here. But there are some spots on this that are particularly oily, which I find to be quite interesting. You know, why does it dry? Why does the why are those particular spots so much have so much more natural oil on them than the rest? It doesn't seem to have any kind of distribution that makes sense. You know, I don't know. I don't know the answers to these questions. All right, I had a discussion today with one of my boys about why the black hole is orange, and I said it's because orange is the new black. Why is plastic oxidizing? Because of the black hole. Why are people from 50 years ago coming back, just appearing? Because of the time dilation, because of the black hole. I'm an idiot. I don't I only have a vague understanding of a handful of things. Everything else I just gotta kind of spitball based on, my vague understanding of those handful of things. Ooh, that didn't feel good. That did not feel good to cut. We're looking at it again. What? How am I doing this? Am I pushing in? There's no way. Or the blades are angling. Wait a second. Can they do that? Oh, they fucking can. Wait. Oh, they can. Okay. So it turns out the blades are angling a little bit. And that is causing some interesting cuts, I'll say. I'll say some interesting cuts. Also, I'm looking at a sticky note on my wall because that is how I remind myself of things, as I put sticky notes on the wall. I did it at my previous place of living, which didn't seem to garner any chagrin, which, tough shit if it did, honestly. Alright, we're just gonna... I already know what game we're playing today, and that'll happen after the soap opera discussions. Because, there's some other things that, are worth talking about. Also, I really need to shave. We're just, we're just a couple days away from eating mustache hair. And it's really annoying. It's really annoying to eat anything with sauce. Like, say, for example, spaghetti. Or, as another example, chicken Alfredo. It's really annoying to eat those things because, they have sauce. Most other things, it's fine. I just wash my face off after, consuming them. I've been eating a lot of pepperoni pizza this week because, I don't know. Oh yeah, I know why. Because I got my hands on one at my pizza occupation, and I ate of it because I was hungry and I didn't, it was there and I didn't want to make anything, like a chicken Alfredo pasta. So I just ate it and thought, yeah, that's good. So I had two more. Three more if we count tonight, but tonight shouldn't really count because it was a mistake that, never that I never used like an idiot. So I just put it through the oven and brought it back. So we got a pizza for tomorrow, We've also got cheesy bread for tomorrow. And that's it. Shit. And then we're just gonna eat snacks, I guess. I gotta buy milk. Yeah, my pad of sticky notes is in my coat. I'm not getting up to get it though. Instead, we'll just, you know, with this bad boy lit up. Well, so today we got the code red because I felt the need to surge my life force. Mother, you said you were going to bed. You lied to me. You lied to me. Also, I realize I didn't turn the camera to do not disturb. I don't want any weird noises happening while we're streaming. Alright. So we're going to activate the cigar. I don't know what I don't know what I expected to happen there. I had a little mental lapse, which, I mean, you lied to me. You lied to me, Mother. How could you? That is so rude. That is so mean. All right, my mother is mean to me. She yells at me and she lies to me. Oh. Well, I guess I almost said lethargy. It's not that. Insomnia kicked in. And now, now you get to listen to me talk about soap operas. Hmm. All right. Okay. We're just gonna get some matches out and hope I don't have to use all of them. Hopefully I only have to use a couple. But we know what happens here on the stream. It's gonna be, I'm gonna lose track of rhythm, and then we're gonna have to relight. And Mother, you are a butthole. You're an anoid. Just like your butthole friends. Although one of them has, one of them has taken the crown. One of your butthole friends has taken the crown as Chief Anus. Oh. Alright, I'm just gonna tear this off. Maybe, if I could... I would say, let's invest into an overhead light. But then I remember this is an apartment, and I can't do that. I mean, I could. I could saw a hole in the ceiling and run wires up there. It wouldn't be... I mean, it would generate a lot of noise, and we would definitely lose the deposit when we moved out. But I could have an overhead light. Mom, you know. And if you don't, I'll let you know later when I get up. All right, but you know. It's the it's the one who went missing and was replaced by a cryptid. Get a lamp. I have a lamp. I stole a lamp from you. It's not that effective. I'm pretty sure if I turn the light on in my closet, it would be more effective. But it's also one of those like halogen lights, and I don't like those. But I have a lamp. It just sucks. It's one of those LED lamps, all right, which means that it doesn't produce light correctly, all right? It just illuminates surfaces. It's also really small. But it's one of those LED lamps, so it doesn't produce lumens in the atmosphere. It just illuminates surfaces. I had several rants about this during the last season of this live stream series, where I couldn't see the light cone, and I figured out why. I did not figure out why, but I came up with my own cracked out theory. Also, it's quite amazing that I managed to do so many episodes of that while working 80 hours a week. I was definitely stressed to a limit physically. But I still sat down, smoked a cigar, and ranted about stuff. Which reminds me, I have to clip so much of that crap and send it to people. Because I still want to figure out why. I still want to show them the Sad People Chronicles and figure out why they're sad, which is going to involve contacting a lot of people I haven't spoken to in a while. But this is what we do for science. This is what we do when there is a question to be answered. You know, we go and we ask it. Also, I should definitely read some more Mountain Dew articles on stream. That seems like it'd be fun. Uh, Also, Mom, I realized you missed the part about the diesel perfume. You know, and me making fun of the Germans again. Anyway, now that I've, you know, sat here and gotten off topic a few times, you know, while holding the cut and, you know, ready to go cigar, the matches are out, everything's ready to go. I just haven't done, you know, the thing yet. If I ever wanted to quit smoking, all I'd have to do is just sit here with a cut cigar and just rant. It could even be the same one over and over and over again, and just rant about stuff. I would never smoke ever again, you know, unless I, you know, consciously was, you know, went, yes. Anywho. Okay. There is now a match head. Oh. Alright. Alright, so there is now... Where'd the headlamp go? There is now a match head somewhere. I think it's under that yellow piece of paper. Well, luckily I'm going to do some cleaning tomorrow. Ugh. Which... I realized I forgot to take the vacuum from the store, so I'm going to have to go by the store to get it to vacuum the floors. Or I could just wait until next month. We'll figure it out. Anyway, let's try that again. Let's try that again. Alright. That's how we do it. Also, I realize I'm smoking a diesel, but I don't have the diesel hat on. I should go get it. First, we'll light this, though. And I can get the sticky notepad out of my jacket. Assuming that's where I left it. Oh, no, it's right there under my wallet. I'm an idiot. And then we'll just go get the diesel hat. Oh. Yeah, this is... yeah. Ooh, I'm awake now. Woo! Yeah, that is... That is a... That is a whole mouthful of pepper. That is a whole mouthful of pepper that just sits at the back of the throat. Yeah, that is a whole mouthful of pepper that sits at the back of the throat. That Mountain Dew did not help as much as I thought it would. Woo! Woo! This is something where I wish, you know, one of my boys didn't accidentally steal my tips from the other day. You know, this is one of those smokes that's, you know, a good root beer would pair nicely with. I should do a video about that. You know, the non-alcoholics guide to cigar pairing, where, you know, it's like, okay, cream soda, you know, certain, you know, if you have certain flavor notes and you're at a certain strength, drink cream soda. If you're at certain flavor notes with a completely different strength, I don't know. Dr. Pepper pairs well with a lot of different cigars. Root beer, black tea, hot and cold, but not hot and cold black tea don't work with the same cigars. And of course, you know, mileage may vary depending on differences in palate. Remember how I said earlier that one nostril was clogged and that this would fix that? Guess what's been fixed? One nostril unclogged. Anyway, let me go get the hat. It only feels It only seems appropriate. There we go. I just walked right into the cloud. All right, here we go. Diesel hat for my diesel cigar. Yeah, there we go. There we go. This definitely does not look unnatural on me. This is not the kind of hat that I normally wear. But, you know, it's a hat I got. I don't remember how I got this hat. Oh, wait, I think it was a deal on CI, or it's just, you know, free hat. And I thought, free hat. I sound like a Team Fortress 2 character when I say things like that. Oh, you know. Wait a minute. Oh, that's neat. I could just point the cigar directly at the camera and see how it's burning. I could also just look down it like... Why am I so stupid? So, let's get to the topic of today, which is soap operas. You know, most people who, most people when they hear soap opera probably think Days of Our Lives. I hate Days of Our Lives. And the reason why is the, the few episodes that I watched uh, were structured in such a way to where each scene was so prohibitively short and between, you know, the various characters. Each scene was so prohibitively short that nothing could happen, essentially. And because of that and the frequent jumping to, you know, different parallel, you know, parts of the story that are going on with different characters, nothing happened in the episode. Essentially, you know, maybe one thing was, you know, kind of sort of built up to, and that's it. That is the full episode. All right? That is the full episode. Is just that. Is just prohibitively short scenes that maybe build up to, you know, maybe start to build up to something, and then that is broken up by commercial breaks because, you know, of course you have to pay for ads in your cable television. Ad-free TV from, you know, cable companies is just not, you know, I don't even think that's something. I don't even think that's a thing today. You know, I think you have to go to, you know, newer streaming services and pay for ad-free. You know, because I guess installing an ad block on your computer and or TV, you know, and or other devices is too much to fucking ask. Getting a little getting a little agitated. We talked about Days of Our Lives. I don't like Days of Our Lives. You know, mostly because it stopped me from watching soap operas for so long. You know, and then because you know, the reason why I bring this up is you know, the reason I lament not watching soap operas for so long because yeah, it's kind of bad TV, but it just tingles a certain part of my mind. You know, maybe it's the dramedy. It's probably the dramedy. I love dramedy. You know, there's dramedy there had been recently. There seems to have been the resolution of some long dramedy at the Taco Bell. My former boss got demoted and sent off to a different store to get his bitch ass retrained. And it sounds like his new boss is, well, you know, giving it to him hard. And what can I say? There's a reason why we called him Saggy Tits bad at his job. Maybe one or both of those things will change after the retraining is over. But until then, maybe I should stop by into the town that I know he's been shipped off to. Hmm. Hmm. Wouldn't that be funny? Wouldn't that be delightful? Hmm. Anywho, so I like soap operas except Days of Our Lives because of dramedy. I love dramedy. Uh, a few years ago, I think it was more than a few years ago, a number of years ago. Because I watch VTubers, I got caught up on the Indonesian side of YouTube, and there was a couple of Indonesian soap operas on YouTube that I watched. Those were entertaining. Those are entertaining, cause ooh, I noticed a greater propensity for violence, death, and just fucked up sadistic shit to happen. And it intensified the dramedy. You know. Also, hearing Indonesian as a language, well, the the languages in Indonesia, I should say, they sound funny. I mean, they're not Indian, and I can tell that they're not Indian, but I can tell how Indian may have influenced those languages. And it sounds it sounds funny. I don't understand it because people who speak those languages tend to speak rather quickly, and I can't quite pick it up yet. I can pick up Japanese, but I can't. Well, okay, the Japanese thing is from years of exposure, and to anime and Japanese VTubers. Meanwhile, I don't have nearly as much experience with Indonesian VTubers. Just a couple, just a couple. Anywho, but yeah, I was watching some Indonesian soap operas, and then I couldn't find any more episodes, so I stopped doing that. And then there's another soap opera that I keep up with off and on. It's it's got it's I've no the structure of it, and I won't reveal it. Let's see if you can figure it out. All right, I'm just gonna you know I'm gonna talk about the plot and stuff, and see if you can figure out which one I'm talking about. Okay, so this one that I keep up with, it it goes through these. I don't know. It goes through these kind of dry spells, I guess. The stuff happens obviously, but it goes through these kind of really long dry spells. I think it's because the writers don't know how to just consistently write good dramedy. Uh, but there are times when the dramedy shoots up, and it's just a handful of episodes of just wild shit happening. I love it. It's fantastic. And all I can do is laugh. All I can do is laugh about it. Um, because recently, one of the arcs that just resolved, if you can call it an arc. I mean, I guess if I think about it, back towards a couple of seasons ago, the friction between the friction between certain characters was definitely plausible. So that means the almost boil over that had occurred made sense. All right. So to describe what has recently transpired at the end of this arc, all right, the arc focuses on three characters: the main character, the friend of the main character, and then a I don't want to say tertiary character because that doesn't quite work, but just another character. Okay, right? So we'll just refer to them as the main character, the friend, and the third character. We'll just say that just to keep the plot vague, just so that way you can guess. Just so. But so what is happening here? is, the friend of the main character, so character number 2, and the third character are butting heads, let's say. And the way that the arc is written, right? It the writers want you to the writers are trying to write character number 3 as the antagonist, as the bad guy, which I see what they were going for. It makes sense. That being said, the friend character, character number 2, is so poorly written and also written to be such an unlikable dickweasel that it's really, really easy to sympathize with the third character. What this culminates to what this culminates to is a confrontation between the main character and character number 3, where words are exchanged and words are exchanged and character number 2 is, for lack of a better term, saved, I guess. Again, I'm trying to keep it vague. I'm trying to be informative as to what is happening in the plot, but also vague enough to where it's not immediately obvious what I'm talking about, which soap opera I'm talking about. It's my favorite one, though. It's my favorite one. Anyway, so this happens. This leads to some. This leads to a small exchange between character, the friend of the main character and the third character, right? This leads to a small exchange. And then after that, it seems like the writers have kind of dropped the ball, which, like I said, just the writing on this for this show is just dubious. It just doesn't make any sense because we'll just have these dry spells, which we're in one right now. All right, it seems like they might be alluding to some other character arcs for some of the other characters, maybe. But at the same time, I'm sitting here, kind of waiting. I'm kind of waiting for I'm kind of waiting for the build up, the build up that's being written to pay off. For the dramedy to spike back up, and for me to be sitting here in my seat with a cigar in my hand and a smile on my face. But we'll get there, I guess. I just have to wait for the writers to kind of get to it. They'll take their time, I guess. Whatever. Whatever, I guess. But and this is how this soap opera has been going, and I've been keeping up with it for a number of years. Is just dry spell, and then there'll be some build up that we'll see here and there, and then all of a sudden, boom, stuff just a bunch of stuff just happens, and I am just back to back to back, and it's laughs all the way. Uh, I love soap operas. Also, do I have a bruise on my arm that hurts? Why? Eh. It's it's great. I love it. I love it. And because I've been watching soap operas, I've noticed how my own life kind of has some of those aspects. You know, mostly with the boys, and it's fun to watch dramedy from a distance, but it is not fun to just be in it. I mean, I guess it can be, depending on which role you play. Like with my, it's just with my boys at my, bastardized Italian food occupation. Yeah, there we go. That's more complicated than pizza job. That's more complicated than pizza job. Mm. Where every day I go in there, so something something funny happens. I don't always laugh because it's not always funny in that way, but it is funny in some ways. So one of the things that was, funny, as in hilarious, that happened today was I was talking to one of my boys, right, about Pokemon. Okay, I was talking about something else. We were talking about adoption, sort of, and that led into Pokemon, because one of my boys was telling me about something he saw online, where uh, a couple had a white couple had adopted a black kid, and there was a video recorded where the couple had kissed each other, and the kid was like, ew, like kids do. you know the kid knew he was adopted. I mean, if it wasn't already obvious. And when the kid went ew, the parents basically went, well, where do you think you came from? Which is a weird thing to say, but and the kid, knowing that he was adopted, kind of went, well, not from you guys. Which, humorous, definitely humorous. This conversation, this well the having this video be described to me reminded me of a video I saw relating to Pokemon. Hold on. We're going to have to relight the rap. I went too long with my favorite soap opera. I went too long with it. Anyway, so this led to reminding me of a video I saw relating to Pokemon, and it was basically just a meme. It was just a meme, but in video form, short video, obviously, because I was just trolling around through some meme channels. Um, which was basically, the video itself was of some streamer, who cares, that was, kind of got up out of his chair and started jumping around all excited. And the caption was, fucking shiny hunters when their wife gives birth to a baby that's a different color. I said, oh, you see, he wasn't adopted, he was just shiny, you know, which led to a discussion, which my guy that I was talking to at the store, he's not familiar overly with Pokemon. He knows what shiny Pokemon are, so I didn't have to explain that. Which, I mean, the concept is really simple. It's just Pokemon that are palette swapped. Okay. Uh and I said, yeah, he's not adopted. He's not adopted. He's just a shiny. And then I told him about that video that I saw, and then I said, with every generation that has passed, the rate of shinies has increased, which I think is factual in terms of Pokemon. Like I think the rate for shinies back during the day was let's see, 2048, 496 was something like 1 in 8,192, and now I think it's something like 1 in 4,000, 1 in 4,096. All right. Immediately after I told him this, and with the context of what I had just told him about, like, oh, he's not adopted, he's shiny, a second meaning to that statement blossomed in my mind. That being that as it's statistically, and at least, or insofar as if you believe what you see online, infidelity has also been on the rise with each passing generation, which some of that infidelity has resulted in children. There is always the meme of, like, the couple giving birth to, like, the black kid with which is actually like the mailman's kid. That's been a joke for decades now. I did not realize that statement could also apply to such situations until I said it, and just a few moments after I said it, which caused, which was it just clicked in my mind and made me laugh. So I had to go back to the sink and explain that to the guy I was closing with. Wait a minute, did you Did you hear what I said? And then I reiterated all of that, which he also found it to be quite humorous. Which, now that I've said that out loud, like that, for stream, it's not that funny. But I'm gonna think about it later, and it's gonna be funny again. You know, for some reason, it just seems that for people who are my age and younger, infidelity just is a bigger thing. It's more frequent. I could be wrong. I could be wrong. I was recently informed that the divorce statistics were worse than what I was originally than what I had previously uh was yeah, they're worse. They're worse, which sucks because people just don't know how to do relationships. Also, I just remembered the bit that I was going to do for stream where I talked about how my life is kind of like a soap opera. I just remembered the bit, and now I can talk about it after I get this rap relit. Actually, after I get this whole thing relit. Okay. 45 minutes in. Let's go. But yeah, I remembered the bit, and now we can talk about it. I didn't remember the object from last stream. I still have not remembered what the object is. So, shit. Maybe I'll remember after I go shopping tomorrow. Wouldn't that be a riot? Oh. Right, so the bit that I was going to talk about, right? So on which day was it? Was it Friday? Was it Saturday? I think it was Saturday night, which means going into Sunday morning. Me and two of my boys sat in the parking lot, as in, asses on the concrete, for 3 hours, just kind of, discussing various things. One of those things that came up was one of those things that came up was the lack of experience that I have romantically. And my boys have joined a long line of men who have vowed to assist me in acquiring such experience. Uh, they are you know they are among many who have made such promises. None of those promises have actually come to pass, as evidenced by my continued lack of relational experience. You know, which is mostly my fault. I don't know how to socialize. I am not good at it. Hence my lack of friendships. But that was one of the things that came up, and just the sheer like ridiculousness of it all. Oh wow, mom. Oh wow, mom. You're really gonna be an anus about this, are you? This is the part. This is the part where I could say something scathing, but I'm not going to. I'm not going to. All right. Not going. Nope. Wow, mom. Wow, mom. That's great. All right. You're lucky nobody's here. Then again, no, no, no. Anywho, that was one thing. Yeah, 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 yeah. You know, yet growing up when I did the same thing, I got reprimanded, mom. Anyway, but that was one of the topics that came up. Another one was just how Paul sucks, which I realize that's a rather broad statement, but the discussion turned to Christianity, so we are talking about Paul the disciple. Uh, you know, one of my boys, uh, one of my boys is of the opinion that Paul the disciple of sucks and ruined Christianity, and his argument makes sense. I still think it's funny though, because it just came out of nowhere almost. It came out of nowhere almost. It was funny as hell, just coming out of nowhere. And really, there were three of us out there sitting in the parking lot, but really it was mostly a discussion, uh, about between two of us, reprimanded about stating facts. At the cost of someone's feelings. I was reprimanded for that a lot growing up. I remember. I could be misremembering, but I don't know. Anywho, uh, but yeah. So two of my boys have vowed to assist me in gathering social experience, and we'll see how that goes. We'll see how that goes. I fully expect one day to, be out and about thinking, wow, I sure love being conscious and able to see my surroundings. And, then next thing I know, I have a bag over my head and I'm unconscious. Then I wake up in the back of one of my boys' vans, and I'm being carted off somewhere to have fun. Also, part of that conversation was just was about how I don't go to bars because I don't drink. They took umbrage with me identifying that the primary purpose of a bar is to, when you go to a bar, the primary purpose of the bar is to, the bar staff serve alcohol, you're supposed to drink alcohol, you're a patron, whatever. That is the primary purpose of the bar. But they took umbrage with the fact that I identified that and don't go to bars because I don't drink. You know? Which, am I wrong? Is that incorrect? You know, they said, "Oh, that's not." They tried to skate around like there's other stuff to do at bars, and I agreed with them. I said, when they said, "Oh, there's pool tables and other stuff at some depending on the place that you go," I agreed with them on that, but I still held firm that the primary purpose of a bar is to drink, and because I don't drink, I don't go to bars. And then they identified that as a reason why I don't have a lot of social experience. Again, I agreed with them. I agreed with them, but I still held firm to the point that I don't go to bars because I don't drink, and the primary purpose of a bar is to drink. Yes, basically, that was the idea. That was the idea. That was, we kind of meandered through the conversation, it actually in the parking lot to do that. Yes, that was the idea. Is they're gonna try and like wingman me. They also speculated about what kind of drunk I would be, which, many people have done so before to pretty much the same result, almost. This new group of people have a different opinion, one that's actually much different, actually kind of funny too. But I digress. That being said, I fully expect to be kidnapped one day because I fully expect to be kidnapped one day because the bastards I work with are crazy enough to actually do it. And we'll see if I have a good time or not. We'll see. I'm still gonna avoid drinking because I don't want to. I don't want to. There's a certain portion of family history that indicates that I would be susceptible to alcoholism, and from what I learned from one of my boys at Taco Bell, that's expensive, and I don't want to pay. I simply do not want to pay for that. Also just the feeling of drunkenness as it has been described to me, which, keep in mind, I went to college. I've seen it, but I've also just had it described to me by different people. And so as a result, I've gotten a wide range of different descriptions of experiences, let's say. And it my conclusion from hearing these varied accounts is that it's not going to be particularly pleasant for me. You know, considering I have never drank, I already know I'm a lightweight, but considering how people are, I'm just I think there's going to be a pretty high chance that, any kind of, predetermined limit that, has been forced upon me by God is going to quickly be exceeded, and then chicanery will ensue that may or may not lead to horrendous negative consequences that I really don't want to put up with. But I guess that's life, isn't it? And I've been, avoiding it. Not that I'm entertaining the idea of doing so. Instead, I'm just considering the distinct possibility of that happening. Make my nephew happy, in a weird way. Because he's waiting. He's waiting. He's waiting for me to fall to the alcohol side. And my staunchness in not drinking at all is, is forcing him to wait ever longer. And if I get my way, he will wait forever. But that's because at this point we haven't really had intervention from outside parties. So, again, the bastards I work with are crazy enough to do it. So I do need to be ready for that. Nah, they're great guys though. They're great guys though. You know, they're great guys though. I enjoy working with them. I don't hate my job. I hate the customers, which has just been kind of burned into me from all the Taco Bell time. Which I mean, anybody who works fast food or has worked fast food, you know, and it just makes sense to you. I don't have to explain it. You know. Also, with these boys, I can say stuff. I can say stuff to them, and and they get it, and they agree. One of the things that I frequently, you know, talk to them about is how old people really shouldn't be allowed to drive. You know, and I realize that's kind of ironic to say where I'm living now because there's a large elderly population in this town. It's obvious, uh, and the roads suck. Well, not the actual physical roads; those are actually pretty decent. Much better than Greenberg, if I'm being honest. Uh, which just as a quick aside to touch on that point, the construction crews around here have torn up multiple streets to repave roads. It's taken only about a week for everything that they've torn up to be repaved, and it seems like it's been adequately repaved. Compare this to Greenberg, where there's that one spot, and anybody who lives there knows what I'm talking about. That one spot that's still filled with potholes, and those potholes get filled in, and then they're back about a month later, without fail. Or the how my college, or how when I was an undergrad, so for 4 years, I would tell people, all right, I'm gonna go, we're at a holiday where we can't stay on campus unless we pay. I'm not paying for that. So I'm gonna go back to Greenberg. I wonder if the main road, one of the main roads in town that has been, getting worked on, is still being worked on. And it was for almost 4 years. The difference in the, you know, infrastructure maintenance crews between where I'm living now and where I was living, just a year ago is staggering. It's staggering. It's quite shocking. Really. I can't emphasize that enough. It is quite shocking. Um, maybe it's the elderly population that caused that. Or, maybe better people just work in construction around here. I don't know what it is, but this town is in many ways better than Greenberg. Um, you know, Ways that it's better. The aforementioned, road construction happening, but being quickly done, so it's not too terribly much of a disruption. The second thing is people don't really play their music loud here. We don't have a lot of people. We don't have a lot of people in their $2,000 shitbox, $200 shitbox with their $5,000 sound system blasting their trash music at some wee hour of the morning. All right, we don't have that here. I have not experienced that a single time, and it is that alone is magnificent. That by itself, if I was told that, like, hey, move to Martin, you won't have to deal with, people's god awful taste in music anymore. At that point, I'd be like, shit, sign me up, sign me up. But those are the pros. Those are the pros of this town. The cons. There is much less to do in this town than in Greenberg, and I know that's kind of rich coming from I know that statement is kind of rich to anybody who still lives in Greenberg because there's not terribly much to do there. There's a bowling alley, at least. There's no bowling alley here. Shit. Why during the time that I have lived here, so since February, so you know before February there wasn't a movie theater, which I again kind of wild to me. Kind of wild to me. They have constructed a movie theater, and I'm pretty sure it's doing business now, or it's getting ready to. So that's, I mean, I guess that's something. It's something, I suppose, but still, it's like there's not there's not much to do here. And that's a terrible con. As a result, there's a lot of crackheads, which sucks, but I mean, it's Indiana. There's crackhead. This is, this is Indiana. What do you expect? Crackheads. That's what's here. Corn and crackheads. Although if I over in a general that ways direction, there's a field with cows. Sometimes I hear them when I open the window at night to just let the night air stream in. Sometimes I hear the cows, which I mean I don't have an opinion on that. I mean I guess I do. I think it's nice. Cows. I see them sometimes when I leave for work. They're out grazing, whatever. Cows, whatever. But yeah, pros, better, roads and, no shitty music. Cons, nothing to do. And, you know, frequency of old people. Ugh. Dealing with the elderly as a demographic that, come to your establishment for food is, yeah, dealing with the elderly is incredibly taxing because it can go one of two ways. And anybody who's worked food service, I think, will be able to agree with me when I say this. One way that it'll go is, they're a regular, they act like regular customers. They come in, they, order. It's real simple, real easy. It's just business. Good stuff. All right. If something is wrong, they're calm. They're like, hey, this is wrong. You fix it. No problems, right? The other end of it is dealing with some of the most entitled behavior that I had only previously seen in fat people. consistently at least. But again, my previous job was fast food, so Good lord, good lord. Some of the nonsense I have had to put up with from entitled old people, it just takes me straight back to Taco Bell dealing with fat women. Good God. I have restrained myself at this job, because I am not the Taco Bell manager anymore. He's still alive, but I am not him. All right? But good God. Good God, there's been some temptation. Hmm. Got a little greedy there. Ooh. Got really greedy on that one. Ooh. All right. But I had to I had to make a phone call to follow up recently with a dissatisfied customer. And I interacted with this dissatisfied customer when he came in. All right, it was pretty straightforward. He came in, told me his pizzas were bad, and then, I was looking over them to, comparing to the receipt to make sure, okay, what's going on here? Did we do something wrong or what's going on here? I did not finish my analysis uh, before said, irate elderly man became more irate and, stormed out. I didn't even get the chance to say, yeah, we'll fix it. I didn't. It was basically just, throw pizzas on the floor, or throw pizzas on the counter, uh, you know, yell, well, not yell, but, raise voice slightly to express displeasure. I'm looking at pizzas to double check everything. Like, okay, what's going on here? And, in the middle of doing that, keep in mind this all took place within, I'd say, about a minute, maybe definitely less than a minute. Between man walks in to man walks out, you know, which, led to the phone call. The phone call then resulted in me having to stand there for 15 minutes on the phone with this man who did not recognize that I was the one he interacted with, thank God. And then, standing on the phone for 15 minutes while this man lied to me about what had happened. All right? 15 minutes of listening to this man lie to me. All right, I was already supposed to have left the building and gotten about to the rest of my day. And that was the end point where I had to stay over for 15 minutes to listen to someone lie to me. There was something else I was going to say about that. I forgot. Hold on, old man. Yeah, but elderly people and their entitlement. For some of them, they understand that not everything is going to, be the peak of excellence. You know, in fast food's case, you get what you pay for, which, you know, mm, you're paying a lot to not get much. Uh, but some old people are, understanding. They're like, hey, this was incorrect. Can I, can this be fixed? And those are the kind of customers that I'm okay with. If we made a mistake, if something wasn't up to standard, yeah, I am willing to do what is necessary to fix things. Uh, but then you get the entitled ones where it was not perfect, and so therefore I am irrationally angry about it. And those are the ones that kind of boil the hatred up a little bit. I've shed a lot of it because I don't have to deal with DoorDash. Man, if I had to deal with DoorDash in my current job, I'm pretty sure I'd be in prison for multiple homicide at this point. You know, grid fucking dealing with door dashers at Taco Bell made me want to commit heinous crimes against humanity because it seems like the dashers in Greenberg are just like the fattest, stupidest people in town. You know, which mm, you know, the story that I told tonight, because DoorDash did come up, was of one summer at Taco Bell, the air conditioner was broken, as it does so cyclically. It is an old model air conditioner. The particular model of the air conditioner is older than I am, which means that it has been attached to that building and running consistently for more than 30 years. Uh, and as a result of the age of the machine and also Indiana weather patterns not being the most hospitable to anything that is outside and susceptible to damage. Yes, and they smell bad. And the dashers in Greenberg smell bad. Anyway, back to the story. Uh, you know, the air conditioner was broken. And, I don't know if you know this, but inside Taco Bell, there are there are five different machines inside the back of a Taco Bell. Sometimes more, but at least in the one I worked at, there were five different machines that generate a lot of heat. All right, those machines are one, the fryer. It's 350 degrees, and it generates a lot of heat. There is a hood over it to kind of help with that, but it doesn't help over much. It's mostly just for any vapors that come off of the oil. The second is the large flat top grill, 550 degrees, right? I think that sounds about right. I could be misremembering. Number three is the rethermalizer. It's just under 200 degrees. The thing with that is it produces a lot of steam, which, hot water. Again, it's under the hood, which, helps, but not over much. The other two are just two of the same item, which are clamshell grills at 475 degrees each. This is five different things in relatively close proximity to each other that produce a lot of heat. And when your air conditioner is not working, you feel the heat. This summer was particularly bad because not only was the air conditioner not working, but the system for just simply circulating air was also not working. This led to the building's internal temperature, at least in the back, consistently being over 80 degrees. Now, I shouldn't, I will explain that when you're in an environment where the ambient temperature is at minimum 80 degrees with no air circulation, that by itself feels bad. It feels bad to work. It feels bad to just exist in that, let alone be moving around at decent speed trying to, get orders out quickly. Now we combine this with standing next to any one of these heat producing machines, or multiple depending on the particular spot that you're standing, right? This leads the unpleasantness of the environment to escalate. Now, we combine this with the aforementioned fat, stupid DoorDashers. I'm going to go pee before I finish this story, but I think you can figure out what I'm going to say next. I will be right back. There we go. Be right back. Hello everyone, I'm back. Took that quick piss. That quick piss. Alright, let's readjust and share. Let me actually get this going again so that way I don't get overly emotional. Because this is one where, fury quite nearly boiled over. And I still feel some of the reverberations of it. There we go. But unpleasant environment combined with it being more unpleasant because I'm standing near something that's pretty hot, and then combine that with dumb people. The equal sign of that equation, one might suggest, would be disaster, and it was quite nearly. So, just to finish putting together the context of this story, yes? I take everything that I've said and remember it, because it's all a contributing factor. The last few pieces of this puzzle, okay? Inside the Taco Bell, on top of the front counter, there is a shelf. On the shelf is where orders for DoorDash go. All right? These DoorDash orders have stickers on them with the name of the customer that is supposed to receive the order, right? This makes sense. So, the logical conclusion is if you were a DoorDasher going to the Taco Bell, what you would do is you would walk in, you would go to this shelf that is clearly marked for delivery orders, you would look at the sticker, you would look to see if there are orders. And if there is an order on the shelf, you would look at the sticker to see, okay, who is this for? Is this what I'm here to pick up? If not, if you don't see it, you then, ask the people behind the counter, hey, what's the ETA on this? Or, some similar question. And then presumably you would get a response saying, oh, hey, it's, X amount of time away. You get an estimation. Whatever. All right. For this particular instance, the order was completed. It was on the shelf. The environment of the Taco Bell was not pleasant, as previously explained, with the air conditioner and just the regular air circulation not working. A fat woman walked in, and the order was on the shelf. Let's say the order was right here. All right, the order was right here. It was a $5 box, right? So the sticker is on top of the box with the name of the customer on it. Right here. Woman comes in, waddles in, is standing at the shelf, and she says, hey, I need the order for such and such. The order sitting right here, right? And so I remember putting that order there just a few minutes prior, and so I point at it from my position at the end of the line right next to the clamshell. I say, oh yeah, it's right there. And go back to doing what I'm doing, putting orders together, this and that. And just, went back to what I was doing. Pointed out like, hey, it's right there. Right in front of her face. Probably, not even a foot away. Not even a foot away. All right. A few minutes later, she's like, hey, I should not raise my voice. It is early in the morning, but she raises her voice a little bit. She says, hey, I need the order for such and such. And, at this point, it's like, at this point, I'm kind of irritated because it's really, really hot. I used to do this thing when the air conditioner would break down, where I would take gloves and I would fill them with ice, and I'd put them in my I'd put them in between my crew shirt and my undershirt, so that way, whatever. But quickly, because of my body heat and because of the ambient temperature of the environment, the ice would melt, which would mean I would need to, drain the water out of the gloves and put more ice in. I was overdue for this, so I was really feeling the heat. So when she, raised her voice at me and my crew, that kind of just, snap something. It's like, all right, time to be a little mean. So I yell. It is right There. I point directly at it, to the box with the sticker on it, with the customer's name that is not even a foot away from this woman. Ooh, ooh, that neck pop. Yeah, you can tell I'm getting irritated. Mm. But I yell that, and she finally looks down at the thing that was right in front of her face. She gets a little huffy, as fat women are wont to do. Takes the order and leaves. All right. So we go back to doing our thing. You know, not that we ever stopped, but you know what I'm saying. Orders keep going out. Eventually this, large man, and when I say large, I mean big and tall, mostly big, comes in and he starts yelling over the counter, "Who yelled at my wife?" And I'm just, at this point, I know what he's talking about because, it's obvious. But, it's been about 10 minutes since she picked up the order. I presume they delivered it. Hopefully they didn't eat it in the car, as I've heard happens on and off, you know. But he's doing that, and it's just like, oh, God. All of us are irritated because it's hot. All of us are irritated because it's a particularly busy night and because the customers are being particularly shitty. So, you know, whatever. He's in there. He said that, and we're just like, God. You know, and he keeps demanding. Who said that? Who spoke to his wife like that? Now, for those of you who don't know, back when I worked at Taco Bell, I always, well, after a certain point, basically for the last year, if I was at Taco Bell for that last year, I always had my gun on me because it's a fast food joint. It's open late at night, and there are crackheads. All right, I know weapons aren't allowed in accordance with company policy, but talk to me about it strictly adhering to company policy when somebody tries to rob the place and presume harm myself or my crew, and instead of accepting that fate and getting injured or even killed, I just pop one off into a crackhead's chest, and nobody of value was hurt. All right, come back to me when that happens. All right. But he keeps making his demands. So what I do is I hand an order off to window and walk up to the front counter. And as I do so, I reach behind my back, pull out the piece, put it on the counter, and go, "That was me." And obviously I am furious. I am boiling, both inside because of just frustration, and outside because of, again, the 90-degree temperature, and I'm standing near a grill that's 400 degrees. So I'm furious. I'm furious. But it seems that the showing of a weapon and the obvious anger that I was exuding were enough to stop this man, because he looks at the gun, he looks back at me, and he kind of goes, well, don't do it again, and then he storms out. And by storms out, I mean, waddles aggressively. Never had to deal with that couple again. Hell yeah. But that was just one instance of just frustrating interaction with a DoorDasher. It's not the main one that we had to deal with, who was consistently annoying, but it is one notable instance. But as a result of my time at Taco Bell, I have grown a distinct hatred for DoorDashers. This is without even talking about how DoorDash as a service is a scam. Yes, mark up my food, instead of just charging a flat delivery fee. Here's how it works at Pizza Job. All right, you order carry out. Either online, over the phone, or you walk into the store. Either way, it's the same price. Maybe online you get a better selection of coupons and whatnot to reduce the price. But let's say that in all instances of carryout, you don't do that. All right. You get your pizza at, at menu price. Let's just say that. All right. The way it works for Pizza Job is if you decide, I'll just kind of place my order online, I'll get delivery. All right. Delivery is a flat $5 fee. So your pizza at menu price plus $5. Maybe that seems like a lot to some people. Maybe it doesn't. I'm not here to debate that. All right. Compare this to DoorDash. You get you walk into, let's just say Taco Bell, just for the sake of the example, and you get, your items at menu price. All right, fantastic. Whatever. If you order DoorDash, the upcharge is considerable from what I've heard. I've never used the service because I'm not, if I'm gonna go get food, I'm gonna go get it. You know, that way, it's just what I do. All right, I'm not gonna pay to have someone deliver it to me. I'm not, it's a task I can easily accomplish myself, so I'm going to accomplish it myself. But I've heard that there are significant upcharges, and also the, people before accepting picking up your order, people can see if you left a tip. Which may sway their decision making. I imagine it does quite a bit. So, getting a pizza delivered versus getting Taco Bell delivered. On one instance, your pizza is menu price plus $5. And then, any tip you want to include, whether or not you include that, I'm not here to debate tipping. I'm just saying that's just there. That's just something you can do. All right. All right. Ordering Taco Bell through DoorDash. Menu price plus some estimates I've heard upwards of 50% extra, which, based on with my experience with the Taco Bell menu, there are not many things that you can get for, about $5. And if you are going to spend less than $5, you are not getting much at all. Maybe 1, 2 items. And that's without beverage, because beverages, they scalp you. I'm pretty sure the profit margin on a small drink is like 3,000%. Which hurts me, just to think about. But that's just how these companies make their money. Sure, what you agree to the price when you pay. All right, that's all I'm saying. I'm not here to debate. The ethics of pricing. I'm just describing reality. At least, insofar as I remember. But yeah, DoorDash is a scam. And, it seems that the people who do it, at least in Greenberg, are shitballs. Fat, greasy shitballs. And I hate them. It's just painted my entire perception of DoorDash as a whole. That it's a scam, and the people who do it are shit. I'm not saying all of them, but the ones I've encountered have consistently been terrible people. At least in the way that they act. I don't know any of them personally, thank God. But, yeah. It's a good thing I left. It's a good thing I left Taco Bell, huh? Been slowly shedding off that just immediate, angry hate response to be more level and tempered, even when dealing with entitled old people. We really got off track from the whole soap opera My Life thing, huh? That's what happens. I'm just here to ramble, basically, while I smoke. But, yeah. I don't remember at all where the jumping off point was from what I was saying to what I am saying. So I guess we'll just kind of go back a little, we'll go back and I'll just, start from a different point that, is also relevant to the 3-hour conversation sitting out in the parking lot, from midnight to about 3 a.m. Okay? So I like having conversation like that, good, conversation, really getting to know people. I like that. I like doing that. I did that in undergrad. and it really made me miss those experiences. And now, now that I'm talking about it, now that I brought up the point, I really miss it. That's one good aspect of undergrad that I really miss was, the late night conversations where you really sit down, you really, talk to somebody. You really have a conversation, you really get to know them. I miss that so much. I don't get to do it often anymore because, I don't really get to, we don't, it's not easy to have a meaningful conversation in the middle of dinner rush. You know what I'm saying? And so, you really, a calm environment outside of work, and, in undergrad's case, schooling, is really good. And I miss that a lot. So I'm hoping that, maybe some more late night conversations will occur, between me and the boys. Because it's so nice. It's really something that I enjoy. And again, it is really something I miss about undergrad. If Wesley wasn't a school teacher, I'd probably hit him up more often to have some fun discussion. Since there are things that I talk to Wezzy about that I would not be so inclined to speak with others about. Uh, One such example is that there are some gaps in my memory, concerning the time period that I was in undergrad, and you know Leslie's able to provide insight on some of those gaps, and you know so I can't really do that with a lot of people. Where it's like, hey, do you remember what happened between these months that I can't remember anymore for some reason? And then, we get some elucidation, we have some discussion about it, topics, shift naturally as they do in in regular conversation, and it's just nice. It's just nice. It just feels really nice. But I work on weekends when, teachers don't work, so it's not exactly the easiest thing to do. You know, that being said, I guess, I could, I guess we could do some text-based conversational adventure, but it's not nearly as satisfying, at least to me. So I typically reserve that for, either speaking face to face or, voice chat is good. It works. It's actual speaking. There's back and forth. There's it's basically speaking face to face. Minus the actual, physical proximity. But I still enjoy it. Ah. And just having a conversation like that, like we did, those, a few nights ago, was really, really nice. It's not something I've had in a while, and it reminded me of the past, which I guess that's going to just keep happening more and more often as I get older, because my past continues to grow. As the present goes by, the past continues to grow. So I guess I'm just going to get more and more nostalgic as I get older, which I already just pine for the yester times so much that imagining that feeling continue to get worse kind of just sucks to think about, and so I'm not really thinking about it that much, you know. But I guess one way to mitigate that would be to you know kind of you know have good conversations, in the future, the near future, hopefully, to continue to build those social skills, you know, those the continuing to build up how well I know someone and how well they know me, you know, because we haven't really, even though I've had, a smattering of conversations, shallow and otherwise, with some of the boys, we haven't really, kind of dived all that deep. We're getting there. We're getting there, obviously. But man, some of those conversations in the future that we may have, ooh, those are gonna be real nice. Uh, it kind of helps that everybody these days has, trauma, and you can compare and contrast traumas. I say that with a smile on my face. That's not good. That's not good. It's not good that that's becoming a more common occurrence, but it is a point of bonding, which, considering how, disconnected people are these days, I guess, you know, I guess when a handful of doors close, you're grateful for when one opens. So, you know, it's a really roundabout way of saying I'll pay. It's not good that, you can bond over trauma, but hey, it's something easy to bond over, I suppose. Uh. I guess that's kind of one reason why I keep doing these streams. Just ramble about, the past. Reminisce in some cases. Uh, you know, get a little bit too close to some things, some negative things that I've experienced, and then kind of be vague about it, and then think about it after stream and lament my mistakes. And lament the possibility of the future that I've created. But it is not, it's nice to sit here and just, kind of ramble about different things, tell stories from life, and kind of keep the memories fresh. Some of the stories may be amusing, some may be shocking, and some may elicit, other feelings, you know, for the listener and for, the speaker. So that's why I keep doing it. And it's a and it's better, it's much better than me just sitting here, just kind of smoking with my thoughts by myself. At least doing this, there's the illusion of other people who, where it's like, well, let's not get too deep and drag the mood down, shall we? That's why, sometimes when I've done that, I've diverted, into, saying something else, or, we've kind of jumped points. You know, some might say that I've done it in this stream. Ooh, maybe. But it's just kind of the natural flow of my own thoughts during stream. Uh, so where it's like, I am aware. I am somewhat aware of the mood that's being created. Whenever I tell certain stories or say certain things. I really need to get a footstool or something. I wish I had more space to, kind of really stretch out. Wait a minute. I have a stool. If I turn like this, rest my arm, I could put my feet up on the stool. Yeah, I could. Maybe next time. Maybe next time I'll just, do a stream like this. Elbow on the desk. Hand resting on the keyboard thingy, whatever you call this thing, that sits at the end of the keyboard. It's sticks with magnets. I don't know what this thing is. I was resting my hand on it just now. Shit, gotta get it under the earbud cable and put it back. Sit there like that. Continuing to have a nice smonk. As I ramble on about whatever the topic I decide is, and interact with my mother in chat, and if the boys ever are awake, they can tune in, and see what their boss is up to. Speaking of reminiscing about the past while smoking, uh, back when I worked at Taco Bell, and I had first started smoking cigars, I got a handful of the other boys into it as well. It was, and so, typically we'd get off of work, right? And it would technically be the next day because it's after midnight, which means that the day would be a holiday. One example that comes to mind is Easter. Uh, Yeah, that's just one example. Or sometimes we'd just be like, hey, you want to, I got sticks, you want to smoke? And then we'd sit, we'd talk, we'd laugh, about different things. You know, I remember one time it was four of us. We got together. I remember it was cold outside, so it was either, I mean, it's Indiana, so I guess that doesn't really help for timeline. But I think it was later in the year. And the four of us were in my garage, right? And we kind of just reminisced about, cartoons and stuff, kind of like I did a couple streams ago. Except, I had people to bounce off of, so I wasn't just sitting here, it wasn't just, sitting at work, uh, before stream, kind of thinking like, what shows should I talk about? What kind of points am I going to make? You know, whatnot. I actually had people to bounce off of. It was it was good. It was fun. We had a good laugh. We always had good laughs whenever we got together for a smoke. You know, I mean, obviously, topics would shift, as we spoke, because it's a conversation. You don't necessarily stay on the same point the entire time. But I remember those times. I remember when Corey smoked his cigar backwards, which was hilarious. Which was hilarious. You know, Corey's the kind of guy, right? Who, if you listen to him and you believe what he says, he's done everything, he's seen everything. All right? So that being said, you know, obviously, any person with sense would not believe everything that he says, but kind of just listen, just kind of chuckle in your head or maybe out loud, either way. But this man who had supposedly seen everything, done everything, basically, did not know that the end of the cigar that you take the cutter to and that you snip, right, is the end that goes in your mouth when and the end that is already open is the end that you take your source of fire to and ignite it to smoke it. Obviously, this man did not know that. This man did not know that, and as a result, he smoked his cigar backwards. Now, to anybody who knows, about the construction of cigars, it's not the same as a cigarette. If you try to light a cigarette really bad, you're gonna burn the filter, and it's probably just not going to light. I haven't tried it personally, but any smokers out there, let me know if you've ever successfully smoked a cigarette backwards, filtered or otherwise. But this man who smoked his cigar backwards, he got about halfway through it, right? And he asked me. He said, "Hey, is this supposed to be coming apart like this?" And I went, "What?" So I looked at, I was like, "Let me see that." So I looked at it, right? Took the cigar in my hand, kind of was like, "What the hell?" It was unraveled. The wrap was unraveling. I went, "What the hell? That's bizarre. Why is that happening?" And then I looked at the side that he was putting in his mouth, because obviously the other side had ash on it. I was like, "Wait a minute." I looked at it, and I, recognized it. Wait a minute. You've been smoking this backwards. And that got so many good laughs from people, you know. You got so many good laughs. I particularly had a good laugh at that. But I told him, I said, "All right, you know what? I'll smoke this down as much as you want. I'll get you another one as soon as I can. Obviously on a different day, so that way he could, have a proper experience with it." But it was funny. It's a prime example of some of the laughs that we had. Most of the laughs that we had were just, getting together. We all work at the same place. We just made fun of our shitty coworkers. We were all night shift, so we're all together. I really, I look at night shift now. I get updates occasionally, and sometimes I do conduct a shift inspection. My God, my hair looks. I got hat hair. But I do shift inspections, or just get updates. The shift has shift seems to have kind of lost its soul, kind of lost its spirit, which really sucks. You know, doesn't really seem to be over much unity like there was back when I was there, and I think that's largely because I would preach it all the time. We are night shift. We are the best. We're better than them. We know we are, and we're gonna act like it. It's us versus them, and it really is. Anybody who's worked, a job where you've got multiple shifts, I think you can attest to certain different shifts butting heads. It might vary between job to job, but for us, we would butt heads with primarily the morning shifters. And I think I've said this before, is because, morning shift at Taco Bell in Greenberg consists primarily of a whole bunch of cranky geriatric cunts. While night shift consists of a colorful cast of people from different backgrounds, from different age groups, but we're, united by we're united by the fact that we're night shifts. We're better than them. And Facebook is always bad-mouthing night shift at Taco Bell, but they keep coming back. That's the thing. They will cry and whine about anything possible, but they keep coming back every day. $30 a day, $810 a month rent that these people are dropping, and they will continue to shoot their mouths off about night shift, always. But night shift typically consists of a colorful cast of characters from different all kinds of different demographics and backgrounds and age groups, and we come from many different walks of life, but we're united by the fact that we work the night shift, and the rest of our lives are kind of scheduled around that, and that we are better than the geriatric cunts on morning shift who really need to quickly do the world a favor and die. And I realized I got a little, people were waiting 30 or more minutes for their food. Bullshit. I can imagine a slight delay. We gotta drop fries again. But 30 minutes? No way. I mean, if it's Honda Rush, yeah, probably. Just because they swarm us and McDonald's is never open. Yeah. But, in the middle of rush, that's totally conceivable. But under normal circumstances, hell no. No management on the shift? There's no way. There's no way. There has to be. There always has to be a manager. That's just policy. The manager probably didn't want to talk to the customers because another trait of night shift that endures even after I left is just the burning, searing hatred for customers. The good ones, we have no problems. It's just business. The bad ones, we might take it personally. Food was made badly. Food was made correctly. All right. They're used to the overportioning, the severe overportioning from morning shift, and the not quite as severe overportioning from mid shift. All right. People tend to take issue when they've been receiving extra unknowingly, and then they receive something that is correct, at least in terms of standards. They take issue with that, which I understand why, but it's not something that it's not something we're willing to negotiate on. Everybody gets yelled at for the overportioning, and then one shift starts doing it right, and it makes that shift look bad by comparison, even though we're doing it right. Corporate is happy, but the customers are up in arms about it. I do occasionally go on to Google reviews for Taco Bell and just read the bad. I just read the bad ones, because the good ones are all just verbal fellation, or I guess text-based fellation. Which, I mean, that's not interesting to read. It's more interesting to read the bad stuff. Actually, let's have a little fun. Let's have a little fun. We're not gonna game today. Instead, we're gonna read we're gonna read we're gonna read some bad reviews. Oh, I love reading. 3.2. Taco Bell reviews are mixed. Can I please have Google reviews? Ah, come on. All right, directions. Reviews. No, this isn't the right one. Oh, I see. We have to do this. We have to do this differently. This is much easier on my phone. This is much easier on my phone. Too bad my phone is my camera, so we can't really do that. All right, we got to do, let's see, 740. There it is. There it is. Okay, let's see. So all reviews, 3.2 for our place. All right. All right. All right. All right. So let's see what we got. Let's switch over. Oh, that is. I forgot that the cigar was really small. All right, hold on. We're gonna have to make some adjustments here. Hold on. Hold on. We'll get it. Whoop, whoop, whoop. There we go. And then screen capture. And then Taco Bell Greensburg. Okay, so we're gonna read some reviews. I enjoy doing this. This is, because it's always fun to to see what's going on. Oh, to see what's going on. Also, the oh, this is sorted by lowest rating. Let's go newest. Let's go newest. Uh, you know, that way we can see. Yeah, we'll go newest, and we'll just read the bad ones and have some fun. See what's going on, because the store is under new management, as I said earlier. But we're gonna have a little fun. We'll have a little fun. Let me relight this. Let me take a couple of puffs. Then we'll do some reading. We'll do some reading. See what's going on. I previously some employment. You know. Maybe we'll branch off to pizza in Greenberg. See what's going on there. I know what's going on there. It's tight. It's run tight. Squidbag knows what he's doing. So let's see what we got. Let's see what we got. Also, I see the people also ask right here, why is Taco Bell meat so cheap? Some questions. When you ask a question, you should be prepared to hear the worst possible answer. And sometimes when you are prepared for that, the answer is worse than what you imagined, and you lament asking the question. This is something that you should consider when asking about the meat products at a fast food establishment. But, All right, so our most recent review, 5 days ago. Recent, topical. So, most recent review, 3 stars. It's Taco Bell. This is probably this one right here. Takeout lunch 5 days ago. 3 stars. It's Taco Bell. That's the most accurate review. That's the most accurate review that I could yeah, that's the most accurate review that you can post. 3 stars. It's Taco Bell. Perfect. So we got a local guide. 2 stars. No comments. Not helpful. All right. If something is wrong, to necessitate that you go on Google and put a poor review, even a lackluster one. Describe the issue. That way we can get some amusement out of it. You know what I'm saying? So let's see. We got another local guide. He wrote quite extensively. Man, food service atmosphere, all ones. All right, accuracy rate is about 12%. Kind of specific. Interesting. Let's see. Can't remember the last time you left with exactly what you ordered. Ooh. Ooh. Skating. Missing a taco or two. Okay. All right. Left today missing 3 tacos. If you so this is where the question comes in. Did you notice you were missing the tacos before you left? Because you know what they say these days. Always check your bag before you leave. Make sure you have everything. Don't leave the establishment. Don't leave the property until you verify that everything is there. You know. Let's see. I specifically asked for 2 extra tacos with the meal. Left with 1 less taco than I should have with just ordering the meal itself. Okay. Pretty petty? I wouldn't say that's petty. You paid for it. You should get it. Definitely. uh, Consistently screw up so bad all the time. The first part of this sentence, right, where it says, oh, it's pretty petty. And then gear shifting into screwing up consistently so bad all the time. Where do you stand, my brother? Where do you stand? All right. All right. The screen is always correct. True, actually. Yeah, no. So, yeah, I've noticed with between pizza and Taco Bell, since since pizza has the call center, which I'm not getting into that, and they're implementing an AI feature. There are some errors there that occur, but for Taco Bell, I can agree the screen is always correct. Let's see. Never know what you're going to get at this place. Wrong. Uh, Always eat in or check for everything at the window. Yes. Sound advice. Well, the always eat in, maybe not. If you're in a hurry, don't waste time sitting down. If you go in and order that way, that makes it much easier to, uh, uh, you know, interact with the staff and say, hey, I'm missing my tacos. Can I get my tacos, please? No problem. All right. Always check for everything at the window. Even if you have them fix the order, the extra 30-minute wait will not be worth it. Trust me. 30 minutes for 3 tacos, that's 10 minutes a taco. You could probably down 3 tacos in 3 minutes. And that's probably a rather it's probably an exaggeration for some of the eaters in Greenberg. You know what I'm saying? Definitely, yeah. 30 minutes for 3 tacos, definitely not worth it. I can trust you when you say that. Definitely. All right. Next one. 3 stars, week ago, dine-in lunch. So this is probably around noon. Food, service, atmosphere. 5, 5, and 1. Really? Okay. Pretty messy. Bathroom. What the fuck does that mean? Okay. Workers are super chill and nice. The food tasted fine. Okay, so that's just an issue about cleaning. You did go in for lunch, and that was your mistake. The place, the mid shifters don't know what cleaning is, and as a result, they don't do it, which has been, something of much chagrin between night shift, and mid shift. They treat us like janitors, but we aren't paid like janitors. If we were paid like janitors, we would get an extra $14 an hour to be janitors on top of being fast food workers. Little something that we used to say. All right, we got a 4-star. No comments here. So why 4 stars? Well, food was 4 out of 5. Atmosphere was 3 out of 5. Okay. Let's see. Nope. Another 1 star. No complaint. Where is it? Where is the complaint? We need to see that. We can't improve if we don't see that. 5 star. Let's see. Dinner. Oh, wow. You thought it was going to be... Ooh, let's see. Subversion of expectations right here. Dinner. Interesting for mid-shift. Really interesting. We got another local guide. What do we got? Walked in, walked right out. No customers inside, but super dirty. Well, it's quite simple. If you came in after dinner rush, especially on a church night, those horrible church people always make a hell of a mess. And then we combine this with the aforementioned lack of cleaning from mid-shift, and suddenly things make sense. Let's see. If this is how an empty... I'm pretty sure dining has 1 N, so an empty dinning room. Can't imagine the kitchen and bathrooms. My brother, if the dining room looks like that in these pictures that I have not exploded, Don't go into the bathroom. All right. It's a Taco Bell bathroom. Number one. Number two, you've got mid-shifters that are incapable of cleaning physically, seemingly. But management needs to be more observant. In my experience, management is too busy tard wrangling the staff, especially during mid-shift. So management has their hands full observing, and wrangling the staff. This is assuming you have one of the good managers on mid-shift who actually work and not the ones that, are, that never should have gotten their position. 5 stars. Best crunch wrap. Hell yeah. 4 stars. All right. Went there today and went during the lunch rush, which was my own fault. Okay. I did have to wait roughly 30 minutes, but the staff were, say the food I got today was some of the best. Oh. But I'd wait that long again if it meant I got that quality of food. Man, good stuff for mid-shift. Good stuff for mid-shift. A month ago, 1 star. Let's see. Not sure why, but the building was locked in the middle of the day. Drove 20 minutes because my kids wanted tacos. That sounds like an issue of where you live and capitulating to your children. Now, if you're the adult, you shouldn't be doing that, at least not often. But building was locked in the middle of the day. There are a number of different circumstances where that could happen. Number one, excessive call-offs. This is quite common on mid-shift. And so if they do not have the staff to sustain the lobby, then they will lock the building. What I can tell you for certain is they definitely had the staff, but didn't want to deal with the strain. This is because mid-shifters consist of younger people with a weaker work ethic. And so therefore, we have some laziness there. Quite a bit, actually. And that leads to situations like this. Locked in the middle of the day, excessive call-offs, and or staff not wanting to deal with this. So, we've got a 2-star with no comments, but he did leave the numbers here. 412. So service was bad. Atmosphere was not good. You were a dine-in customer, I'm guessing. And things were still messy. Not good. Not good. Alright, a month ago. Worst Taco Bell that you've been to. Got the drink wrong and forgot the order. Got our order wrong 3 times. Staff cursing at each other while you waited at the counter to pay. What, lunchtime? Say it ain't so. Alright, one thing I'll say about this, and this is going to be a small defensive mid-shift, but definitely something that needs to be said, is fast food does not necessarily have a high barrier to entry when it comes to being employed there, simply being employed. What this means is that some rough and tumble people, we'll say, tend to work there. Some people who aren't quite eloquent in their speech. And, as a result of this, some of the words and phrases that get thrown around may be, shall we say, hard on the ears. And, this isn't a shift thing. This is a fast food industry thing. Is it good? I don't think, not really. People, if you're in a work setting, you should definitely know to restrain yourself. That being said, when tensions run high, things are busy, and half your crew isn't working. I see that this was at lunchtime. You would hear some things, and should it happen? Absolutely not. But does it? In reality, does it happen? Yes, and it's part and parcel, I think. And that's again, that's not a oh, this shift does it thing. It's a more this industry does it. One might consider it to be a problem, but it's just how it is. All right. So, drive through for about 20 minutes a month ago by the entire Post family, the After family. 20 minutes given the wrong order. All right. Things get mixed up. They were probably waiting to fry something. They were probably waiting on something that you ordered that was fried that they were out of. Things got mixed up in the drive-through. It happens. 20 minutes? Wow. If that is accurate, then again, no matter what shift that's on, that's not good. That's not good. That's not good. So, next we got this. No idea what taco they gave me. How were you unable to identify the item that you received? It's either hard, soft, Doritos, or the Cantina tacos. The ones that are horrible and should have never ever been developed and put on the menu. See, no idea what taco they gave me, but then you identify the wait. And it was just a normal hard taco, shredded chicken, and some cheese on the outside. I see what happened. I see what happened here. What happened was they probably ran out of the special cantina shells. And, as opposed to frying more, the faster option in the interest of, putting the fast in fast food was to give you a regular taco was to give you the, cantina taco made exactly the same way, but utilizing a regular taco shell of a instead of the proper cantina shell. So that's probably what happened there. You know, I will say that it's something that I'm my crew is guilty of, but they all do it. All right. So we got a 2-star review 2 months ago. Dinner time. Dine in. Hell yeah. So the tacos barely had any lettuce, and I have to call my bank. There are 3 charges for the food I got there yesterday. I used the app. I only got 1 receipt. So yeah, when it comes to the charges, this is an issue with the corporate system. And I've noticed this happen at pizza as well, although it seems to have gotten fixed for us. This was 2 months ago, so who knows if it's gotten fixed on Taco Bell's end? Probably not. They're not losing money. In fact, it sounds like they're gaining it. But yeah, definitely if something like this happens, it's probably just a system error. Definitely call your bank. Definitely make sure that you get that fixed. If it's 3 identical charges, I'm pretty sure your bank will go, yeah, no, that makes sense. We'll void those, and the money will be returned to your account. That's a corporate system error. Unfortunately, the us local boys, or I guess me formerly, I suppose, can't really fix that. Even if you bring the issue to our attention, we don't exactly have a way to fix that. That is a corporate issue. That is something you need to take up with corporate. The tacos barely having any lettuce. That's just unacceptable. That's just unacceptable, all right? The way that you construct a Taco Bell taco is like this, all right? You have your, let's just say hard shell. It's the same for soft shell, but, whatever. Scoop of meat. The taco must be visually full of lettuce. Now, what that means is, it looks like it has a lot of lettuce in it. In reality, what ends up happening is because, the lettuce is vacuum sealed in bags, it does compress, and they're supposed to kind of fluff it to reintroduce air gaps into the lettuce. And does this happen? No, it does not. So barely any lettuce means that they were, number 1, not proper portioning, and number 2, not fluffing the lettuce. Or maybe they were proper portioning, and just the fluffing has made it so it's not visually full. Most of the complaints that I had to deal with were barely any cheese. And this is by design. You're not supposed to put much cheese on that at all. The cheese is expensive, at least by comparison to something like lettuce. But complaints about lettuce, rare. Well, complaints about not enough lettuce, rare. Complaints about, having too much lettuce or even the presence of lettuce, much more common. Much more common. All right, so let's see. Just horrible service. Could you provide some more details? When? What time was it? That way we can finally, that way we can, get some elucidation, get some facts here, so we can fix things. Let's see what do we got here. We got a 3-star with, nothing here. We got a 5-star. You know, simple, plain and simple. Like I said, I don't like reading these because they're all the same. Hot and ready. Okay, cool. Thanks, buddy. 5-star with nothing. All right. 1-star with nothing. This is a problem. What is the complaint? What is the issue? Come on. Let's see. Yada, yada, yada. All right. Well, this is just verbal fellation. That's lovely. We have another local guide with a 1-star, and we've got information. All right. Order was all messed up. Completely all messed up. All right. Bel Grande came with just beans and cheese. That is what it comes with. It typically comes with other ingredients too, though. Took it back. They said they were out of tomatoes. More common than you think. More common than you think. Most people don't complain about the tomatoes, though. It said you wanted the meat and the rest of the toppings. In this instance, meat and the rest of the toppings, based on what you said, would be just meat and sour cream. That is what you were missing. And the aforementioned tomatoes. However, tomatoes, out. More common than you think. They did make a new one. It's very skippy. I think you mean skimpy. My soft shell taco was old and had hard edges. My daughter's bowl rice was so hard she couldn't eat it. I have a lot of things to say about this. All right. Soft shell taco was not old. The edges were hard because it was left on the grill for too long. All right. That or the tortillas were dried out. We don't have anything for when this was. What time? Tortillas are typically dried out during the early morning. Although I guess since these are lunchtime foods, that issue should not have been present, which means that the soft shell taco shell was left on the grill for too long. Somebody was a little bit inattentive on Steam. And the rice, yeah, not a lot of people who work at Taco Bell, at least in Greenberg, know how to make good rice. We had somebody there. Lovely woman. All right, she made the best rice, hands down, and I don't know how she did it. All right, she just had the magic touch. All right, I copied her methods I watched her do this. I copied her methods exactly. Right, the rice was not as good. Somehow it was noticeably worse, even though I copied her methods exactly. I don't understand it. She had the magic touch for rice, and she was one of the few people who could make good rice for Taco Bell. But yeah, a lot of people, the rice is not something that a lot of people are acquainted with making even acceptable, let alone good. So that one I understand. The soft taco again. Somebody left that tortilla on the grill a little bit too wrong. All right, another one from 4 months ago. Wait in line for 20 to 30 minutes and they still forget half the food? Well, that's we're lacking information here. When did this happen? What did you order? How much did you order? This is lacking a lot of information. And also, did you bring this up? What was the staff response if you did? All right, let's see. We got some blanks here. Oh yes, I like these. All right. All right, worst Taco Bell I've ever had the displeasure of eating repeatedly over the 4 years of eating here. Cold, undercooked food and bad service. It's a joke. How bad the food industry is in this town, but especially here. I used to work for Yum Brand. There's no way this location follows proper prep standards. Again, I have a lot to say. All right. Worst Taco Bell you've had the displeasure eating at repeatedly? Why do you keep coming back? If it's the worst Taco Bell, why do you keep coming back? All right. Cold and undercooked food. The food is pre-cooked, so it can't be undercooked. Cold? I don't know. I think this might be an instance of you took the food home in your heavily air-conditioned vehicle. This is 5 months ago, so month 4, April, could be quite hot. Your car's air-conditioned. You probably had that AC blast in it's Indiana. After all, it can get quite hot here sometimes. But the food industry in town, yeah, most places are kind of a joke. You got the good ones though. Don't go to KFC in Greenberg ever. No, for any reason. I mean, unless you want salmonella. If you're craving some salmonella, served to you not so hot and not so fresh by an underpaid ex-con, go to KFC. But if you don't want that, but you still want chicken, there are alternatives. The A&W I would recommend highly, highly. I doubt you used to work for Yum Brand, but then again, you're not saying you worked at a managerial position, so I guess this is plausible. No way this location follows proper prep standards. Oh, nailed it right on the head right there, buddy. Nailed it right there. You are 100% correct. Recommended dishes, though, the cheesy gordita crunch and the quesadilla. Interesting that you actually put that in there. Why do you keep coming back? If it's the worst Taco Bell and you got data from supposedly 4 years, you'd think at some point during that 4 years, the idea would come into your head, maybe I should not go back there again. But, let me just get 4 years of data to, excuse me, to, really say for certain, no, I don't look foolish. No, I didn't waste a bunch of money, just to complain for 4 years. No, what? No, that thought never occurred to me. But, all right. One of the dirtiest places in Greensburg. Clearly, you've never been to the McDonald's. All right. Clearly, you've never been to the McDonald's or the KFC for that matter. All right. Never get your order correct. Not once. Not a single time. Every order goes out wrong. That's the Taco Bell promise. All right. Usually wait for 45 minutes to get the wrong food. And when you ask, they just stare at you like an idiot. Oh, well, I mean, clearly you've never been to the McDonald's or the KFC. Have you looked in the mirror recently? 45 minutes seems really excessive. I doubt that, and it's probably it's just an exaggeration, just to because emotions run high when food is incorrect. I understand that, but please try to be accurate with your complaints. All right, half the food was missing. Had to go back and wait for 20 minutes. Interesting. Food was still 4 out of 5 though. Service 3 out of 5. This makes sense. 3 stars, 3 out of 5. Makes sense to me. Atmosphere 2 out of 5. Ooh, did you go inside? What time? What did you order? How much did you order? Oh, DoorDash. Ooh, we got a dasher. We got a dasher in the reviews. After this one, I'm gonna go take another piss. I have been drinking heavily this stream. Oh my god. DoorDash driver. Deliveries are expected to be picked up and dropped off at specific times. Not quite. It's more like an estimate. Even I know that. After asking multiple times and already waiting for 20 minutes, I watched 5 other customers come up to the front asking why they still haven't received anything after 40 minutes in all caps. Wow. Not only that, the employees were insanely rude to everyone. Not a single person was wearing bullshit. Bullshit. Any manager on that floor. Any manager, all right? Across shift, another rare defensive morning and mid shift, all right? Any manager on that floor would make absolutely sure everyone was wearing gloves. If someone was not wearing gloves, it's because they were either working dish or they had just gotten there and hadn't put them on yet. All right, no gloves means no business. That store will not be open. All right, I couldn't. Maybe things have changed. This was 6 months ago. I stopped working there in December. Who knows? But when I was there, gloves. All right, the number of people that I had to get onto about the gloves. All right, we had gloves. They were on if you were handling food. No exceptions. No exceptions. All right. The rudeness, well, you're a DoorDasher. You deserve it. You deserve it. All right. Again, this is going to be one of those reviews where I defend, the entirety of the establishment. You're a DoorDasher. You deserve it. You were probably being a cunt. 20 minutes waiting, yeah, it makes sense. DoorDash we don't really prioritize, even though upper management says we should. Fuck you. All right. Fuck you, you parasites. But And molded food was sitting all over the kitchen. Interesting that no pictures were provided of said molded food. You'd think with a scathing review such as this, that we would at least have some photographic evidence of the claims being made. All right, employees vaping over food. Okay, yeah, that one I can't defend, but this sounds like a mid-shift problem. Again, young kids, they love their fucking vapes. They can't live without them. And that's seriously not even half of it. There's a whole second half to the complaints that are being posted here. My God. My God. An employee brushed off the concerns and needs of the customers and stated, well, just don't come back next time. I mean, it's. What can I say? When you're right, you're right. The DoorDash bags were ripped, stickers weren't placed, and was even missing food after all. The drama of the night already. Night. Late mid shift into night shift. A couple of these things add up. The rest of it, I don't know. I think you might be fibbing a little bit. All right. No manager was present, and if they were, need fired. Could you please type a coherent sentence? No manager was present. That is strictly against corporate policy. In order for the establishment to do business, there must be a manager on the property. Not necessarily on the floor. People take smoke breaks, but manager on the property at all times. If there is no manager, the store is not open and not doing business. So that's a lie. I get it. Food service sucks to work in, and things can happen, and you can get thrown behind. True. True. The first sentence here that I am willing to say is completely true. Food service sucks, and you can definitely get thrown behind quite easily. That is true. That is true. However, the attitude of the employees and the treatment to their customers was quite baffling. No, I mean, if you get it, it's not baffling. It makes sense. You can visualize the logical chain of things there that would lead up to the events stated in some of the claims that you've made during this review. I have a cramp in my leg. Oh my God. All right, I received the complete order after almost an hour. I'm a let it go person 99% of the time. When somebody says this, they are definitely not. They are definitely leaning more and more into the entitled camp, and they're just waiting for a bad experience to snap at and exaggerate. But it was so bad I contacted the health department as well as corporate. Unsanitary, slow, and disappointing. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Disappointing? Well, you went to Taco Bell. I don't know. I don't know what you expected. Unsanitary? Things might get dirty. Things will definitely get dirty. But I don't think it approaches unsanitary. It's never approached unsanitary. Even on some of the worst days that I've come into mid-shift, and things have been dirty. But they haven't been unsanitary. We haven't had any kind of sanitary issues since I started working there all that time ago. Slow, time to time, yeah, time to time. But a mixed bag review. Lots of things here that could be, that are definitely exaggerations. Also, you're a DoorDash driver. Fuck you. All right, fuck you. All right, let's get down to the next one. Ooh. 6:30. Oh, this one's mid-shift. This one's a mid-shift. All right. I'm gonna be right back. I'm gonna go take a pee, and then we'll read this one. I love reading bad reviews. I'll be right back though. Oh, I turned the smoke off. This one. Mute microphone. Maybe I should wear my Taco Bell hat for this one. Actually, you know what? We're reading Taco Bell stuff. Let me get the hat. Oh, where did I put it? Is it in this? Hold on, I'm blinded. Give me a second. Oh, no, I think it's across the hall. Give me a second. I'll be right back. I'm gonna go grab the Taco Bell hat. We'll wear it proper. Switching hats. Oh, fuck, I didn't even turn the camera back on. Ba, 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 ba. There we go. Terrible hat hair. Taco Bell. This is an old crew hat, too. Yeah, if you couldn't tell by its age and obvious wear and tear. But we've got the Taco Bell hat. We're reading Taco Bell reviews, so we gotta wear the Taco Bell hat. You know, I don't work there anymore, but hey, I've still got that night shift spirit. Let's get this relit and take a couple of puffs before we continue. But this. I'm definitely amused. Definitely. Also, I really need a haircut. Holy crap. Oh, yeah. Good lord. Also, I used all the matches I got out of the beginning. Imagine that. It's not a GZ stream without me fucking up my smoking patterns. My rhythm. Can't keep it for shit. Even after doing this for, you know, a year and a half. Hell. Alright. Ooh, ah. Ooh, ah. Hmm. Yeah, alright. 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 Well, I'll just take a couple of puffs on this. I'll try to take a puff in between each review. Maybe two if they're quick. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Ah, I'm definitely amused. And we're only 7 months ago. We haven't even gotten back to the complaints about me specifically. I want to get to those before I end stuff off. Definitely, because the complaints about me, they're good. They're good. I am greatly amused by them even to this day. But yeah, we got a 3.2 stars. Hmm. I mean, it is a fast food establishment. I don't know what you expect. Turnover, training, things are always a mess. Things are always a mess. If your fast food establishment can keep people, man, you got some desperate people and you got them by the balls. You know what I'm saying? If I click this, is this gonna fuck? Oh, it did. Shit. All right, we're gonna have to wait. Nope, we gotta scroll. Ooh. Ooh, there's one we haven't seen. Most relevant, newest. We gotta go back to 7 months. Okay, scrolling. Ah, there you are. I remembered your name. Something I don't really do for customers, typically. Got a little smoke in my eye. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Mm. So a 7-month-old review. It was edited. That's important. That's going to be important for something I'm going to say quite early on. I think you see it too. Went about 6:30 last night because you put some spacing in there. You took the time to edit this. Let's see. Got our order and brought it home after my wife ate. She's been sick all night. Common Taco Bell occurrence. You are weak. Your wife is weak. Her blood is weak. Don't know if it was the food or a bug. Again, curious spacing for those commas. But by the taste of my Mexican pizza, there's another mistake there. You ordered the Mexican pizza. That thing's trash. Which I took 2 bites of, in parentheses, again, comma spacing, and threw it away because of a funky taste. You ordered the Mexican pizza. Also, yeah, I guess this was really affecting you really, really quite severely, considering your review has some, really annoying grammatical errors. I have a good guess which it was. We won't be back. Also, no apostrophe on the won't. We'll see you tomorrow. That's all I have to say. I bet, our guy here has gone back. He certainly has. 7 months, 5 Damn. Now that's what it looks like. That's pretty good. All right. Oh, we got another one. We got another one. 8 months ago. We're approaching me. Had the worst service here tonight. The worst service. All right, I went, and the customer service was very poor. I didn't get half my food. You were missing one thing. You were missing one thing. Not that I know this one personally, but whenever people say this, they were missing like 1 or 2 items. Maybe the guy with the 3 tacos, that's plausible as well. Big orders, things get missed. He told me to come back now, and I said I lived really far and didn't want to get back out. I asked if he could take my name down, and he refused. He refused to, said I didn't need to. Well, I mean, we're not really that kind of business. Taco Bell doesn't really have a credit system. I guess with the the increased popularity and pushing of mobile orders, it would be possible to do something like that. But it's not really something that we do. Okay, I just want what I paid for. Absolutely, that makes sense. You pay for something, you should receive it, but at the same time, you also get what you pay for. And better customer service. And see, if you made that comment to the person you spoke to, that probably irritated them a little bit. Whenever you're in a situation, right, and you've been wronged, all right, there's a couple different ways to go about it. The first way is be calm, be reasonable. Hey, I'm missing these 2 items from my order. Can I get them remade? Reasonable ask. Definitely. Any decent customer service person would acquiesce to that request. Especially if made calmly and reasonably. Hey, I'm missing these things that I paid for. Can I get these things that I paid for? Not a problem. We can do that. But when you start saying, I want better customer service, that's when there are some comments that should definitely be kept to the self. All right, if you have a negative experience, maybe bring it up. Maybe bring it up in the review, but not to the person you're speaking to, who is serving you, the customer. Doing the customer service. I asked for his name. I asked what his name was. Dave. Oh, this is night shift. This is night shift. Like, he wasn't sure of his name. All right. Motherfucker has autism. He's a little socially awkward. You know, he's a little nervous around people he doesn't know, all right? Especially if it's over the phone, our crappy ass Taco Bell phone. You know, some patience, you know, would be appreciated. They gave me extra food that wasn't in my order. Oh, you were missing things and got things that weren't in your order. It's possible. It's definitely possible. Took me 3 times of calling to get an answer because they answered and hung right up. Very rude people. You talk to one person. You know, as for, you know, they answered and hung right up. All right, I gotta come out and say it. That's a night shift tactic. All right. Most people, you know, with the proclivity of prank calls that we get at Taco Bell, we develop some anti-prank call tactics. One of them is the, you know, cycling of the phone. This is where the phone rings, you hit green, you hit red, you know, because we don't know who's calling. And, you know, if you're, you know, again, check your bag. Check your bag before you leave, all right? Especially if you live far away like you claim to. Check your bag before you leave. Make sure everything is there, all right? That's all I can say. You know, as for very rude people, that is 100% not true, all right? Dave is not a rude boy. I can vouch for that one. Dave is not a rude boy. If you spoke to me though, then, you know, the rudeness would be plausible. All right? Because you know, back then, oh yeah, I reveled. I reveled in being mean to customers, especially if they you know, acted, you know, I would not be rude. All right, just saying that, I would not be rude if somebody were to, you know, come to me with a reasonable request. You know, hey, I didn't get these items I paid for. Can I get these items? Yes. If made calmly and reasonably, I was calm and reasonable. If you got shitty though, first, you had to be shitty first. I'd give it right back to you. You know, you know, I'd reflect it right back at you, and maybe then some, depending on if I was a little bit frustrated. You know, just to get the message across. That's how we trained our Honda people to be, you know, better. They're still shit, but we made them better over time. You know. One-star review here. Read your order tickets. Yeah. Dinner? Mid-shift. Hmm. Hmm. Mid-shifters. Hmm. Hmm. All right. We're getting close to me. As soon as we get the first one, I'm probably just gonna smile and look at the camera after reading it, and then maybe, you know, say my bit. Waited at the window for 15 minutes. Got a bag full of the wrong order. What we did get was not made correctly. If your bag was full of the wrong order, as in it was entirely wrong, then I suppose it does stand to reason that what you did get was not made correctly, as it was not the correct order. But, you know, I dare say that this is not what you're referring to. You're trying to say that the items that you did receive were made incorrectly, even though, you know, from my experience, most people don't even know what goes into their food. Do you have any idea how many people order supreme tacos with no sour cream? It's cheaper to get regular tacos with tomatoes. Then again, most people take issue with the Taco Bell tomatoes, and I don't blame them. Taco Bell tomatoes are trash. But, anyway, we did not have time to turn around and get it fixed. How? How? Hmm? Were you in a rush to get somewhere? Did you have some kind of appointment? I suppose it was lunch, so you would have to get back to work. Again, check, you know, make sure you check your bag before you leave. That way you can get that fixed. We sat in line so long we were late to where we were going. So you did have some kind of appointment, some kind of pressing, you know, some gathering that you were going to of sorts, one might say. Person working window was friendly. Well, hey, there you go. Atmosphere, 2 out of 10. That's the first person working window. That's atmosphere. That's not service. 3-star with no words. Hell yeah! This one's gonna be fun. This one's gonna be fun. All right. Writing this review as I sit in the drive-thru waiting for anyone to acknowledge me. I've been here for 10 minutes and there's 5 cars ahead of me. All right. All right. So you're sitting at the speaker with 5 cars in front of you and you're waiting for you to be acknowledged? It's not your turn to be acknowledged. Nobody's moved. Nobody's down over the speaker. Car's behind me, so I can't back out and leave. It happens. But, as for nobody's at the speaker, that sounds like a short-staffed issue where the window man has to be on the line to make stuff. Things are a little slow when that happens. Again, call-offs. It happens all the time. Constantly, one might say. Update. Finally got my food. Took 20 minutes. So let's see. You waited for 30 minutes. You were the sixth car in line. That's not bad. The cashier at the window never spoke to me, even after I said thank you after receiving my order. For most people, this would not be a complaint. Interacting with food, with fast food service staff is typically something that, a lot of people don't, want to minimize. And so, getting that minimized, you're complaining about it. I don't know. I'm not sure about this one. This one doesn't track to me. All right. 4-star review. We have another 1-star. Ooh. 9 months ago, too. We're getting close to me. We're getting close to me. Oh. My anticipation for the reviews that pertain to me is just growing every time we scroll down. Every time we scroll down, it's so good. It's getting closer. I can't wait. I love the complaints about me because they're all so funny. I am enjoying this greatly. Too much? I don't know. That's your opinion. But if I was enjoying this too much, I'd be nothing but a laughing mess. All right. When we get to me, though, I'm probably gonna be that. Okay, alright, I'm just gonna get a bunch more matches out and leave them on the desk. I don't have to keep opening this thing. Alright, because, God, I cannot keep a smoking rhythm today. It's because I'm reading something. Sorry, when I read that Mountain Dew article about how it's racist, apparently, I did not have a smoking rhythm at all, I clipped that and put it on the channel, which sparked some interesting political discussion. Alright. Normally, food is fine and tastes great. But I just got 2 of the overpriced boxes, and the food was not done and not edible. Chalupa sentences, people, put periods, punctuate your sentences correctly. Good lord. Chalupas are supposed to be golden brown, not white, and soaking wet and doughy. I've tried to call, they pick up and then hang up, so I guess I will call in the morning to compensate it. Again, it's punctuation, people. This was by far the worst experience I've ever had here. Night shift. Also, alright, white, golden brown, not white. Nah, I guess they didn't put them, they probably, pre-pulled them a little bit too early. Soaking, that just, that's not a word. Alright, come on. As for soaking wet, well, when the grease, so the chalupas are made out of flatbread that has been fried. Alright. If we assume the pre-pull occurred, then that means that the bread had not fully been fried, and therefore had not hardened to that golden brown consistency that you're looking for, right? And then what that means is that it still maintains the bread-like quality of absorbing moisture. Now, where would this moisture come from, you may ask? Well, if it's a Chalupa Supreme, there are three potential sources of moisture that would soak into this undercooked chalupa. The first of this would be the grease from the beef. The beef is excessively greasy due to its low quality and some of the more questionable ingredients put into it. The second source of this moisture would be the sour cream. As you know, it is quite a viscous substance, but it is still a liquid. All right. Now, the third source of this, it is a Chalupa Supreme. This means it comes with sour cream and tomatoes. Those tomatoes are not drained because mid-shift and morning shift do not know how to prep shit. All right? So what possibly happened here was that your chalupa was pulled just a smidge too early. I'd say about 5 seconds. And as a result of this, it absorbed the moisture from the beef grease, the sour cream, and the tomatoes. Hence the soaking wet. I don't know why I did that accent for that, but that was that yeah. All right. Pulled just a little too early. Pulled just a little too early. Bad southern accent. Well, I'm not from the South, Mom. So of course I would do a bad southern accent. I'm not from the South. All right, my Russian accent isn't great. I'm not from Russia either. You know, all the accents I do are bad. Like even my Middle Eastern accent is a caricature. I do that on purpose though, because you know, whatever. All right. I wish I had a hairnet, because then it would really capture the experience. All right. So, I don't prefer to use the kiosk to order. All right. What do we got here? A year ago. All right, so we got some soft tacos here. This one looks... Okay, the lettuce is not... portioned across. This looks like ample cheese. This one does not have much lettuce. Wait a second. This one doesn't have much lettuce at all. It has about the right amount of cheese. This one, the lettuce again is not adequately portioned, and the cheese is not portioned, you know, across the entire thing correctly. Ooh, ooh, not good. Not good. This one, not good. I do not prefer the kiosk to order. Well, you're not in the minority. I will give you that one. Not good. Ooh, 10 months ago. 10 months ago. All right, we're getting close. We're getting closer. We're getting closer. We're getting closer. It was crappy all the way. Missing half our food, 2 items. And then went back to try and get it replaced, and it was well. It was well. All right. Yeah. I know what I made, and I know what you're missing. Dinner time. Sounds like midshift was adopting some night shift tactics. The only problem is that midshift doesn't have the accuracy that we have. So. This one's long. This one's long. All right. What do we got here? 2 stars, though. 2 stars, though. Like almost all of our fast food restaurants in Greenberg, this Taco Bell is totally disgusting. At least you acknowledge that the other fast food restaurants are bad. Well, to varying degrees. The Arby's is clean. The Wendy's is clean. I don't have enough experience with the Dairy Queen to say either way. The McDonald's has roaches, and they've had roaches for a long time. So, you know. And I don't know about the Burger King, because nobody does know about the Burger King, because nobody ever goes there. All right, I've heard horror stories that they're like, that their rush is, 3 to 5 cars. From people who've worked there, mind you, their rush is 3 to 5 cars, and they get stressed out about that. All right. They never power wash the entrance area sidewalk. Blatantly false. Blatantly false. The amount of times I have banged my leg parts on the power washer sitting at the back after it's been used because the person who owned it didn't bother to take it with them off shift. Blatantly false. The building is looking like crap. Blatantly false. Blatantly false. Bathrooms are gross. Yeah. Yeah, it's Taco Bell bathroom. They're all gross. And most of the workers are super rude and don't care about anything. That is not true. That is not true. The workers do care about getting their paycheck. They will clock in and not work for 8 hours to secure that money, and they care about that deeply. They care about that deeply. They give you handfuls of sauce when you only need two. Yeah, there's the other side of that coin is they only gave me two sauces and I wanted a bunch. You know, corporate corporate's been on our asses more than once about that, about the sauces. So yeah, we could strike a happy middle ground with the customers in terms of give you a medium number of sauces. This would still not make corporate happy. So it seems that we've continued to gravitate towards the extremes. You only get you get not enough sauce for some and too many for others. Just throw them away. All right, non-issue. They're always out of a ton of items. Let me tell you about why the Taco Bell in Greensburg at this time period and beforehand has always been out of a bunch of shit. The ordering of supplies, both in terms of food items and otherwise, is supposed to be handled by the general manager of the establishment. In my 7 years working at Taco Bell, we went through 7 different general managers of variable skill levels. The most recent one, the one that I worked under and is now receiving his much-deserved recompense for wronging us, meaning night shift, he did not participate in that duty overmuch, as is listed in his job description. Instead, he opted to delegate the task to someone who would become one of his assistants. Mind you, this person should not have attained that level within the company, but did so due to nepotism and filleting, like not verbal fellation, like physical fellation, a little bit of the sucky, if you know what I mean. Allegedly. So that was handled by that person who did not do the truck order at all properly. And on the rare occasions when I was paid to do so, it was correct every time. But those times were not often, as the managers who elected to pay me to do so were not overly generous with doing so. Then again, I guess I am complaining about someone not doing their job and not paying me to do their job. So I realize there is a little bit of an unreasonable bit there. But yeah, that's why we were out, because somebody who had no right doing the orders was doing the orders. They were bad before COVID lockdowns. Now they should be shut down. I mean, the Taco Bell, the McDonald's, the KFC. If any fast food establishment in Greensburg were to be shut down, I would vote 100% of the time that the KFC be shut down first. Disgusting. Disgusting. Absolutely horrendous. Oh, hey, look, it's said person who should not have been doing the truck orders and should not have been promoted to assistant. 5 stars? Anywho, what else we got? All right. Not great. Beans were dry. Common problem. People don't hydrate. Dinner? Yeah, they definitely didn't hydrate. Asking mid-shift to do, work? Come on. Tacos had literally 1 shred of lettuce and cheese, and the rest was dry beans? You got bean tacos? Ew. The nachos came with 1/5 of the cup of cheese. Did you measure that? But as for the cheese cups, they are supposed to be adequately filled. If you got 1/5 and you measured it right, then yeah, that's definitely unacceptable. Trash location, well, you'll be back. They always come back. They always come back. They always come back. They complain. They complain constantly, but they always come back. One guy, you know, that we read earlier, 4 years, kept coming back. Why? 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 Oh, do not eat here. No. 9:28. Oh, 6 p.m. Oh God, this is deep mid shift. Ooh, ah, yeah, baby. Oh yeah, we're gonna be able to tear into them. This is probably gonna be reasonable. Do not eat here. All caps, several exclamation points. That's how you know this person is reasonable. That's how you know that they know how to communicate effectively. Is it possible to take a half a star? Obviously not. My son likes Taco Bell, and we went past tense quite often for him. I will not eat there again. Mm. They have real problems with keeping staff, and their quality control is non-existent. I will acknowledge the problems with keeping staff. Fast food has a notorious high turnover rate. I do remember a point in history while working at the Taco Bell where our turnover rate goal was 200%. Now, for those of you who aren't aware, a turnover rate of 100% is taking the entirety of the crew and replacing all of them over the course of 1 year. That is 100%. So 200% is doing it twice. And our goal was to go down to 200%. Now, not necessarily the entire crew is going to be cycled out and replaced. It's a numbers thing, but they do definitely have problems with keeping staff. But that's fast food in general. People get better jobs. People get frustrated. They quit. You know, blah blah blah, yada yada yada. You know, I mean, fast food people go to jail and can't work anymore. You know, it's too bad because I do like Taco Bell and I can't eat there. Well, you can't eat it at the Greenberg one. There are other Taco Bells. There are other towns and other Taco Bells. I know it's hard to believe. Went on this specific date, 9/2 last year. Waited in store for a simple order. Waited 25 minutes for food that we had to remind them we ordered. Classic mid shift. Classic mid shift. You know? They have the order kiosk that didn't remind them. They don't do that. I don't do that. If things get swiped off by accident, which does happen, I will defend that. That does happen sometimes. There is no reminder unless it comes from the customer. In which case, our mistake. We'll fix that. Order was wrong. It was you waited, and the kiosk didn't remind, and the order was wrong. Went on a different date a couple weeks later at 6 p.m. deep into mid shift. And also 6 p.m. That's dinner rush. That's dinner rush. Bought 5 tacos and nachos. Spent $16. See, that's the $16 for that. Got 5 soggy tacos falling apart with cold meat, and my nacho cheese was cold. I'll not eat here again, no matter how bad I want a taco. Again, do not eat here. All caps, fewer exclamation points. So, 5 soggy tacos? Let me guess. You got hard tacos, and you waited a period of time greater than 60 seconds. Well, let's be generous here. You know, the tacos do hold up. I'd say you waited a time period of greater than 300 seconds to eat them due to either getting in the car and leaving. This is takeout. I see that. And not eating them, you know, right then, right there. All right, so the thing about Taco Bell and fast food in general is that, you know, while the food is sustained in its heated compartment, we'll say, it maintains, you know, it maintains itself in that environment. Once it is removed from that environment, a timer begins. This is different for every fast food item. But once that timer starts, the quality begins to noticeably degrade, and rather quickly, hence the 300-second estimate. If you get hard tacos after this 300-second time, the hard tacos return to the primordial sludge that they had originated from, and most would consider them to be inedible, at least most normal people. Now, the greasy fats who typically come in still consume it because they need to consume calories, as they are terrified of losing weight. And, all right, that's on them to do that. But for most, it's inedible, and rightfully so. So, five tacos falling apart, that's hard tacos. You waited longer than 5 minutes to eat those, so you probably shouldn't have done that. Cold meat, nacho cheese was cold. Again, after it leaves the heated cabinet, or compartment, rather, it's not in that anymore. The bags are not great insulators. And so, heat and, the energy, thermal energy, which is heat, tends to dissipate outwards into areas of lower concentration. This is what we refer to as diffusion. It happens to contaminants in liquids. It happens to different energy types, and thermal among them. So, sounds like you waited too long to eat your food. Maybe you should, eat a little faster. Definitely less than 5 minutes. Definitely less than 5 minutes. Do not eat here. Sound advice. Sound advice. Don't eat fast food. It's bad for you. And it's overly expensive. And it sucks. All right. It sucks. It sucks. Also, 3-star review. No complaint. Not helpful. Not amusing. Not helpful. Not amusing. I have matches on the desk. I open the box out of habit. Crap. Alright. Okay. Alright. Okay. So, our next one. Go through the drive-through 3 to 4 nights a week. Yeah, you do. Yeah, I bet you do. Yeah, that's probably accurate. That is probably accurate. That is probably exactly accurate. I almost always get the exact same thing. Cool, fantastic. For the last 2 to 3 weeks, my one item order has been wrong more times than it was right. This is where I begin to express doubts. This is where I begin to express doubts about that. When I try to call to tell them, of course, there is a recording saying they are busy. It's plausible. It's plausible. After working 9+ hours, the last thing I want to do is get back out and drive back over there. This is where I regurgitate once again the time-proven advice of checking your bag, checking your one item, I suppose, to make sure it is correct, and if it is not, make your calm and reasonable request to have it replaced. And if it occurs repeatedly, maybe don't go through 2-3 times or 3-4 times a week. Maybe take a break. Shop around. There's options. There's certainly options. All right, so let's see what we got. Yes. Yes. We know what time it. You know what time it is. I spoke of this time. I spoke of it. I spoke of this time, and it is time. This is where I take the stage. August 28th at 12:30 a.m. We're gonna do a dramatic reading. August 28th at 12:30 a.m. I went through the drive-thru and the dude was very rude. No punctuation. He had sunglasses on late at night. I asked for sauce and he told me no. I'm writing this review, but I will also email corporate on this guy. This isn't the first time this has happened to me. Oh, I believe Taco Bell should get rid of the dude. Until then, me and half the town that I know will no longer be going there. Oh, the horror. The injustice of it all. The dude. The dude. He should be gotten rid of. I don't know why. But just referring to myself as the dude. Hmm. Ooh, the dude. Oh, that is not that funny. That is not that funny. It's 6 in the morning. That's why that's that funny. The dude. All right, all right, all right, all right. So went through the drive-through, and the dude was very rude. He had sunglasses on late at night. I mean, hey, that's a physical descriptor. That's how I know it was me. I always wore sunglasses at Taco Bell because I'm a baller. All right. Do I wait? Oh, I don't have the sunglasses that I wore because they're broken. But I suppose in the interest of, a little bit more authenticity, I will put on a pair of sunglasses that I did wear for a short time at the Taco Bell, just to, you know, yeah, the dude. Anyway, very rude, very rude. So, since this pertains to me specifically, I will elucidate on the rudeness. All right. In my experience, for some reason, you know, and I'm gonna drop the facade here. I realize I look ridiculous as I'm doing this, but I will speak on this. I will speak on this without hyperbole, without humor. All right. So for some reason that is unknown to me, uh, people interpret a monotone uh, a monotone expression of words, kind of like I'm doing now, as rudeness. I am aware that when it comes to food service and specifically the customer facing portion, this is your front cash, this is your drive through. I'm aware that the manual does stipulate that we are supposed to be upbeat and happy. All right. I'm aware of that. I'm acutely aware of that. You know, that being said, as opposed to a more hostile tone that would be explainable by my frustrations and, at this point in my Taco Bell career, exhaustion from working 16 hours a day across two different jobs, I did elect to take on a more monotone kind of cadence to my speech, which is not upbeat and happy as the manual does stipulate to us. But again, I do view that as better than a more exhausted sounding and more hostile tone. That being said, multiple times the monotone cadence that I would take up in those occasions where I would have to work in a customer facing position like the window, especially on night shift, I would adopt that tone, and that tone would be interpreted as rudeness, which, you know, I'm not. It's just monotone. It's neutral, you know. Now, to bring back a little bit of the humor, as it were. No sauce. This calls back to the out of items thing, right? One of the items that we would frequently run out of, right, specifically would be hot sauce. It's quite a popular item, hence why I cannot see with this on. I cannot see a thing. The lighting is not good enough in here for this. But the light, oh my god, the lighting, hot sauce, popular item, really popular item. So we call back to how somebody who had no right ordering the truck would be ordering the truck. This means we would run out of things. Our most popular items we would run out of first. That one of those items being hot sauce. And every time somebody would ask for hot sauce, I would say, oh, I can't, I would say some flavor of, no, we don't have any. You know, again, monotone, just just working the shift. I'm becoming a robot because, again, I'm exhausted. Um, but yeah, I would always say, yeah, we're out. in some way. You know, we can't provide hot sauce or, you know, mild sauce also quite a bit. So, you know, I would always make sure to be clear that, you know, I cannot provide the sauce that you want because we are out every time. Every time. But some people ignore the that part where I say that we're out and just kind of, you know, go on to write, you know, negative reviews. All right. Right, you know, writing a negative Google review as if it's as if it's going to make an impact. Well, I mean, hey, I guess there's I guess that's not the, you know, least productive way to spend your time. Although in this instance, the alternative that I would recommend that you may find to be a better use of your time would be to voice your complaints to a brick wall. Corporate does not really do much in the way of enforcement of policy when it comes to franchises. For that, you would want to contact the franchise manager for that. Not that everybody would know that. It's kind of difficult to tell a franchise from a corporate store, at least from the customer side of things. As for the worker side of things, it becomes quite obvious. Corporate stores don't have soul at all. That being said, corporate on this guy, the dude. See, it's not the first time this has happened to me. Completely understandable. We were frequently out of sauces. Frequently out of sauces. I believe Taco Bell should get rid of the dude. Well, they kind of did in a way. I left of my own volition because I found better opportunity elsewhere. Until then, me and half the town that I know will no longer be going there. I remember reading this review in the Taco Bell to my crew. I remember this one. I've seen this one more than once. I remember exactly what I said to this. I went, yeah, okay. All right. You might not come back, whore. But, you know, the half the town that you're acquainted with, they'll be back. All right. They got to spend their $810 on us. All right. They'll be back. All right. It's not my fault you didn't pay attention when I said we were out. All right. And it's not my fault we're out. Now, if it was one of those instances where I was, you know, ordering truck, that's on me. That's on me. All right. I recognize this username. I'm not gonna say who it is though, but I know, and I see you. I've seen you more than once. But usually have no issues. But my past orders, God, punctuate. You're smarter than this. I know you are. They have consistently messed up to where my entire order in not edible by me, and I had to eat something else instead. Punctuation. I know the man who wrote this. I know you know what punctuation is. You are smarter than this. Please write a decent review. At least, you know, if you're going to leave a negative review, at least make sure it's, you know, grammatical. Please, please. Eat something else. There's no punctuation on this, so I can't parse sentences. Instead, as trying to call and get my issue rectified, you use the word rectified, but can't punctuate your sentences? Is impossible, as no one answers a phone there, and voicemail is not an option. Blatantly false. Voicemail is an option, you just elected not to leave one. We'll try and get my money back through the app help, but I know it will be out for VIR, the amount, and got nothing for it. Could you please write a better review? I know who wrote this. You are smarter than this. Always check and do not use the delivery, as it won't be good for anyone until they fix reading the orders first before making them. The one solid piece of advice here is always check and do not use delivery. I guess that's 2 pieces of advice. Those are the 2 pieces of advice in this review that I can stand by. Also, punctuate. It's important, all right, for parsing and just for ease of readability, and so you don't look like a disgusting, you know, a disgusting fast food customers like the rest of them. I'm gonna give this one a heart just for fun. All right. Okay, we're getting deeper down. This is where I might pop up. All right. Hey, look, there's another one right there. This is gonna be fun. I love reading about me. I love reading about me. Mm. So, I'll relight this after I read this one, and then we'll get to me. Me. Mm. So, last 4 out of 5 times I have been there, my quesadillas have been completely uncooked and cold. Cook your food before you get someone sick, Taco Bell. See, that's the thing about Taco Bell is sometimes the food will be completely correct, 100% correct, and you'll still get sick. Your bloodline's weak. Your bloodline's weak. As for the quesadillas being completely uncooked and cold, well, I'm willing to accept that a freak accident has happened once. 4 out of 5, though? I don't know. I think you're fibbing. I think you're fibbing. I think you're fibbing. Uncooked and cold. Uncooked? No way. No way. That quesadilla hit 2 different grills before it went out. Cold? Well, I mean, you waited too long. You waited too long. And I already addressed the last sentence in that one. But now we get to me. Me. The dude. This one doesn't. Does this one refer to me as the dude? Okay. So no, I'm not referred to as the dude in this one. I mean, it would have been so funny if every single bad review about me specifically referred to me as the dude. Oh god. Oh god. Uh let's before I read this one though, we gotta set the ambiance. And also I lost rhythm again because I'm an idiot who likes to flower on. This is why I go through so many matches. Honestly, this is why I go through so many matches. If I remembered to bring the torch fuel here from, my smoking room, man, I would go through that so quick. But uh, all right, all right. So this one's about me. All right, 3:30 a.m. So we're before we close, pretty close to before we close. All right, went through the drive-through on July 17th. Damn. Whomever. Yeah, I think about it. This is pretty well punctuated, actually. Ooh. Whomever was working the drive-through was very rude. All right. He is in need of customer service training. Yeah. Taco Bell's training is not basically non-existent. Aside from anything relating to the line and actual operation of the equipment. We don't really get any customer service training. You're kind of expected to have those bones in your body. I do not. He was wearing sunglasses at 3:30 a.m. and his behavior was foul. Several exclamation points. Smile, be kind. Well, if you've worked food service, let alone fast food, you know that any interaction with customers is not something to be happy about. As for kindness, well, I think what you can expect is a certain level of courtesy at bare minimum, which I always demonstrated, unless of course the customer got crappy first, in which case that means all bets are off. It's the Wild West now. You're gonna get back what you put in. All right. There is no reason to be so rude. Terrible service. This sounds like another one of those where I'm tired, I'm monotone, and that's not rude. That's neutral. But most people interpret it as rude. And again, we go back to the manual where we are supposed to be upbeat, happy, to serve. It's not realistic. It's not realistic at all. But, what can you expect from somebody who's, never worked the business? And you can tell. Anywho. All right. we're gonna keep going until I smoke this down, and then I'll probably clip this down to a nice long video for the channel. I mean, I do have the next 2 days off, and I need something to do besides snow break. I'll get through snow break quick. Not only did it take a long time, but I was missing an item from my order, and all of our tacos barely had any meat in them. Same with our quesadillas. And our cheese cups were only a fourth of the way full. I usually don't have an issue with Taco Bell, but tonight I was very disappointed. Yeah. Yeah. Doesn't seem like there's really any, exaggeration or anything to make fun of here. I will say that the meat distribution on the quesadillas is, generally lacking. The amount is usually I mean, it's one scoop. Maybe a little more if you order extra. But the distribution of the meat is never great. You're always those two edge pieces are going to be pretty minimal if they have any at all. Which that's just a an issue of moving quick. Putting the fast in fast food. As for the tacos, had barely any meat in them. Sounds like somebody's a glutton. Somebody's a glutton for the greasy flesh. But pretty fair, no exaggerations here. And well, cheese cup's fourth of the way full. Are you sure about that? Are you sure you didn't slurp up a bunch of it before you noticed? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. This next one looks like it's going to be juicy. It also looks like it's just reeking of corporate problems, which I cannot fix. Even back when I worked there, I cannot fix corporate issues, unfortunately. Now, if you'd come to the store, and, with an issue I could fix, then yeah, we could fix it. We could fix it. All right. So, reading. Normally this Taco Bell is fine, I guess. Okay. I mean, hey, I can work with that. But I ordered online. There's your mistake. Didn't receive my order. There's actually no way of getting a refund. Didn't receive your order? Well, you ordered online, so it's honestly things do get lost in the pipeline pretty commonly. And that's a result of the corporate system being poor at best. At the best of times, too. Anyway, they told me to go through the app. If you ordered online, you went through the app, you should be able to get a refund. If not, then that is an issue with the app. Didn't work? Sent numerous emails and even called the Taco Bell helpline 7 times. Sat on hold for a combined total of 3 hours. Wait, 7 calls, 3 hours? Man. If you manage to get a hold of somebody, only waiting 3 hours across 7 calls, you're making great time. I know that Taco Bell helpline, they are not quick. Not at all. Not at all. And no one answered. Oh, so you called 7 times, waited 3 hours, and didn't even get to talk to anybody? You didn't wait long enough. You didn't wait long enough. And that's a corporate issue. That's a corporate issue. The bigger a corporation gets, the more efficiency breaks down at critical levels. And this review seems to be a prime example of that. Let's see. Taco Bell, I am so mad at you. Plus, uncapitalized I want my 1896. No period. I am so upset. Parenthesis. I know it shouldn't be that serious, but this is not the first time this has happened. Close parenthesis. No period. 1896. You got a combo. You get a combo. You got 2 items and a drink for that price. I know that sounds like hyperbole. I know that sounds like that sounds like an exaggeration. Fast food prices are gross. They're terrible. Fast food is not cheap anymore. Founders of Fast Food Nation are probably rolling over in their graves, frequently enough and hard enough to generate enough power for, human civilization to just, use for centuries because of how bad it is, especially on the corporate level. 7 calls, 3 hours, you didn't wait long enough. Especially if you didn't, to not talk to somebody, you wasted your time, if you actually talk to somebody. But yeah, if you came in, if you actually called the store itself, which it sounds like you did, we could have arranged a refund if you had not ordered through the app. The app is the app is territory that the regular workers are not allowed to venture into, and as a result, customer service issues such as this are not something that we can really remedy. I mean, technically we could. However, the remedy for such a thing would be a cash refund. We would not be able to refund directly to your card, and even then we would have to explain the cash shortage to the general manager, which would not be approved of. And so therefore, the issue is technically not within our hands, and unfortunately, we would not be able to resolve it for you. Now, it seems corporate wasn't too keen on resolving it either. They wanted to keep your 1896. They must really be hurting for the money. I mean, what do you expect? What do you expect? Uh, all right. Don't always have some food items at the end of the day. This is true. Again, the aforementioned someone shouldn't have been ordering truck issue. But I like this part here, right? Mexican pizza. Really? Recommended Mexican pizza? You're disgusting. Ground beef burrito. All right. All right. Dollar menu option. All right. Supposed to be a Crunchwrap Supreme. I want to know the story behind this one. What was wrong with your Crunchwrap Supreme? Recommendation for vegetarians. Highly recommend. You're supposed to put a food item here. You're supposed to put a food item here. The black bean burrito. The bean burrito. Something like that. Vegetarian offerings. Again, you're supposed to put items in this box. In this little text prompt here. Uh, you know, Again, vegetarian options. This is just asking the same thing 3 times, except I guess recommendation is more opinionated, while these two are more factual. There are some, and they have it easily read which ones are on the menu. All right, there we go. Parking space, plenty of parking. Hell yeah. Parking options, free parking lot. Yeah, pretty much. Parking. This is the same thing 3 times again, but you put different responses. Drive-through can be long. How does that, I mean, I guess you're parking in the drive-through, but it's long, huh? Hmm. All right. We got another one and this one. Oh, baby, we got a winner. We got a big boy right here. Yeah, things are getting louder outside. It is 6:30. It is 6:30. So, ooh, my neck. There we go. I need that pop. If only I could get this knot right here in my shoulder to work out. I've been massaging it on and off for about a week, and it flared up today, which kind of threw me off my pizza game. Sucks. All right. All right, we got a long one here, so I'm going to set the cigar in my holder above my ashtray. We're going to lean into this one a little bit. Let's see what we got. Normally, my experience here is fine. Okay, all right. But, improper punctuation again. Went yesterday at about 4 p.m. Mid-shift. Had 2 cars in front of me, and they were gone before I finished ordering. Hell yeah, dude. Fast speed on mid-shift, unheard of. They had my food to me within a minute of being at the window. Usually they are fast, but this was really fast. Okay, yeah, I mean, that is really fast for them. Holy shit. Thinking, wow, they're on their game today. Yeah, they were for mid-shift? My God. Oh, it was second paragraph. No. Oh, I got home and the food that was not special order looked like it was prepared well before I ordered. Hmm. My home is 8 minutes away. Ah, that 5 minute timer. That 5 minute timer's back. All three tacos were soggy, falling apart, and appeared as if someone decided to sit on them during their lunch break. Improper loading into the bag. But also 8 minutes. That's on you. The nachos Belgrande was soggy. That's because the ingredients are packaged together, and that is what happens when, liquid nacho cheese is exposed to chips. It does get soggy. The cheese was dark yellow, like it had sat for a while. 8 minutes. 8 minutes. Sat for 8 minutes in your car. Possibly more when, if you didn't immediately, dig into it as soon as you pulled in. Horrible experience yesterday. I'm going to give them another chance, and I ensure I check the quality before I pull away, following that advice of checking before you leave. I recommend you do the same if they seem too quick to give you their food. To give you your food. Definitely something. Yeah, definitely something. Definitely something that good advice right there. Good advice right there. Hey, Taco Bell employees, this is where things are gonna get annoying. Pro tip: serve the food you would want to eat. Your menu is no longer cheap. Yeah, that's true. That's true. The menu is no longer cheap. Give your customers quality or find a different job. Well, quality from a fast food joint. It's a bit of an oxymoron there. Edit. 3 visits later since my review, and every time the food has been trash unless ordered special. Even today, there are multiple cars in front of me, and it was dinner time. I figured things would be fresh. No. Same scenario. See photo. It's what they put out. Soggy, broken tacos. 8 minutes. 8 minutes, that's on you. 8 minutes, that's on you. I don't know what happened to this Taco Bell and why the quality is tanked, but it's unacceptable. Skip this Taco Bell. Seriously, I won't go back. See you tomorrow. See you tomorrow. Thanks for the second chance. But also, quality? I have a fast food place that's continuously raising prices? You serious? You serious? Oof. Oof, what do we got? Oh my god. Oh my god, it's mangled. It's destroyed. Utterly. Horror. 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 The horror of it. It was completely mangled. It also looked like, it was beginning to return to the primordial sludge that it was birthed from. 8 minutes. It's more than 5. You waited too long. You waited much, much too long. That's why your tacos were soggy and gross. You gotta eat those things quick. Even the soft tacos do the same thing, but just not nearly as bad because, the shell isn't crunchy, so it doesn't, break down in the same way. But this one, this one's long. Alright, I'm a night owl and have visited this location quite often. I'm sure you have. And I've never had a problem until this evening. Doubt. I had several items, but mostly tacos. I paid the extra to have them made supreme, and not one was supreme. If they were out of items, they could have told me and maybe toss in something extra at no charge, but the drive-thru attendant couldn't say you're welcome, let alone care how the order was. Mexican pizza had minimal toppings and the shells were very stale. And this is due to carryover procedures. We don't have a proper oven that those things are stored in to keep them crisp and fresh, so they do stale out over time. The Mexican pizza shells being stale is quite interesting, because those things usually get ate up, especially after that came back. That was so annoying. I know how short-handed places can be, and normally wouldn't complain if it was 1 or 2 errors with the increased costs. Wait a minute, this is a parsing issue. This is a run-on sentence. Oh my god. I feel they should We should simply do better. We should fabricate an oven or some such to, properly heat the shelves and remove moisture so that way things remain crunchy. We should just fabricate that out of the materials on site and hopefully not get yelled at at corporate for doing so. Hmm. 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 I did send an email to corporate letting them know so that maybe, in quotes, they will be more mindful. It was your mistake. You sent an email to corporate. They don't care. They don't care. They're making money. You'll be back. You know? Also, didn't have any issues before this one? Service is 5 out of 5. Did you have complaints about the service in your review? Quite curious. Quite curious. Quite curious. Let's keep scrolling. Alright. Okay. So let's see. No chicken crispinadas. Oh, that was a hot item. That was a hot item. No cherry Pepsi. We made the switch to Dr. Pepper. Finally, as we should have. Alright, we never should have had cherry Pepsi. The cherry Pepsi at Taco Bell was garbage. And, always was. Every time somebody asked for Dr. Pepper when we had cherry Pepsi, I would unfortunately have to inform them that we, had made the downgrade to cherry Pepsi. Normally, I wouldn't say such a thing. I consider cherry Pepsi to be quite good normally. But the Taco Bell cherry Pepsi was garbage. Garbage. Chicken crispinadas, hot item. Again, we return to the repeatedly aforementioned issue of somebody who had no right to order truck was ordering truck. Combine that with a hot new item. Oh yeah, disaster. We never had the new item. When people wanted them. During those hot times, we were always out. Because we never had the stock. And why didn't we have the stock? Somebody who didn't know how to order was ordering. Slow service as per usual with literally every Taco Bell ever. Well, with the aforementioned turnover rates, that is to be expected. Doesn't sound like it's too much of a complaint for this one, though. At this point, it's a corporate issue. Definitely. I agree with that. Corporate issue, yeah. Make sure your soda machines aren't garbage to, dispensing out gross beverages. It's a terrible thing. I didn't answer the thing. Oh, look who it is. One of the troublemakers. Food was cold, taco was soggy, lettuce is brown, and they didn't answer the phone. We're not going to answer the phone for you. I know you specifically. You do nothing but cause trouble. You do nothing but cause trouble. Food was cold? Yeah, well, fucking don't wait so long. Soggy lettuce. Wait. Food was cold. Taco was soggy. Again, waited too long. Lettuce is brown. Dinner. Mid-shift. Yeah, product rotation was never the best, unfortunately. And we were just told to use it. Didn't want to generate extra waste. That makes the general manager look bad. And he's doing such a bang-up job. It's when it comes to issues of quality, we were told to use what we had, even when it was not ideal, and the consequences for defying mandates from above ranged from nothing to next to nothing. So I guess we could have thrown out the lettuce. Then again, you're eating fast food, and for you in particular, fuck you. All right. If anybody else but this particular user had posted this review, I might be a little bit more sympathetic. But since it's you specifically, go die. That's all I have to say. Oh my god. Oh my god. I remember this one too. I've read some of these in to my crew, because we did that for amusement too. When was it, Racism Sunday? You know what? This is done. I'm gonna let this. That one's done. All right, we're just gonna read a few more, and then I'll end things off. We streamed for a long time today. A long time. All right. I say we read this one and two more. And then I'll end things off, okay? All right. Grisly experience. Grisly. Never go inside again. You have to order via a kiosk in the store. Yes, they have been cycling out front cash in favor of the kiosks in order to expedite service and make things look, modern. Now, people have their opinions on that. I think, as somebody who worked in the back, it helps with the short staffing issue, as we don't necessarily always have to have somebody devoted to front cash to take orders. It helps with the lines. There are no menus to look at. That's what the kiosk is. It's a menu. You don't order anything unless unless you hit the item, and then there's another button to hit order. It's a touch screen. It's, you can tell this is someone who's older, as potentially evidenced by a Google review, thinking that'll make a difference. All right. The order, capitalized, was still wrong, but chose not to call nor care, because I didn't want to go back to that place. So you chose to vent your frustrations here as opposed to moving along the proper channels. Alright. We don't live in a communist state yet, but they're working on it. Attempting to mitigate a labor issue and modernize our technology in order to facilitate, orders on the inside is a step towards communism. Shocking. I had no idea. This impersonal service via computer is a small part of it. Yeah. I mean, you heard it here first, everybody. If you engage with any industry that has a service aspect to it, and you engage with that industry via a computer, you are contributing to communism. Oh my. Grisly experience indeed. Being forced to contribute to communism via a computer. Oh my. Wow. Truly. 1 star? No, nothing. Okay, cool. 2 stars. Ooh. Okay, All right. So, terrible employees who could not make your order correctly if their lives depended on it. This Taco Bell location has made me feel like I wasted my time and my hard-earned money on multiple occasions. I can agree with that. Fast food is a waste of time and money. Never, ever, ever. If you can avoid it, don't. It's just not a good idea. Recommendation for vegetarians. Would not recommend. I agree fully. Vegetarians, I don't know. If you're coming to this kind of environment, I don't know. Vegetarian offerings. Menu is all vegetarian. Blatantly false. We still serve beef, chicken, and steak, and with the advent of shredded chicken, there's more non-vegetarian options than ever. Parking space. Not sure. How are you not sure about a parking space? Did you go through the drive-thru? I understand there wouldn't be parking spaces in the drive-thru. But not sure about the parking space? And then immediately, parking options, free parking lot. How are you not sure about the parking space, but then you identify the free parking lot as a parking option? You're stupid. All right, one more. Would not wait on us. Again, sentences. People form, good sentences. Would not wait on us, wanted us to use kiosk. We go back to the kiosk issue, labor shortages. We got to mitigate that somehow. How do we do that? Technology is one avenue. Went to McDonald's and they were happy to serve us, and I'm sure your roach burgers were delicious. I'm sure those roach burgers, scrumptious. Extra protein in my Big Mac? Oh, wait, this was edited. But, yeah. All right, we'll do this last one. So, waited 10 minutes before I got my order. Wait, I waited 10 minutes before I got my order. It was the wrong one. So I waited another 5 minutes. Kind of sad for fast food. All one sentence, no punctuation. We're just shotgunning words onto the internet to complain. Recommended dishes? Nothing. It's Taco Bell. I can't blame you there. That's pretty accurate. Kid friendliness. Kid friendliness. They gave my kid a free treat. 1 star? For a free treat for your kid? Come on, at least 2. Also, breakfast. Ooh, a 1 star on breakfast. Eat your heart out, morning shift. Oh my god. Oh my god. This was amusing. This was definitely amusing. I had a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun reading these. Okay, I scrolled down a little bit. I know I said one more, but hold on. 1 star wasn't there. Did the 2 years ago? What was the store? Did the store disappear? Was it? Were we transported to another location? You arrived at the address, listed right here at the top all the time. Did you arrive at that address and it just wasn't there? The store? Not there? Oh, amazing. Amazing. Maybe some of the people I work with had a point. Maybe sometimes we actually were in taco hell, And this one customer pointed it out. And that, for the time that this person, the time this person came to the Taco Bell, when they arrived at the location, the store wasn't there. We'd been transported to hell. And they couldn't order. There was no building. There was nothing. It was gone. We were in hell. It wasn't there. Wasn't there. Oh my god. All the people I worked with who called it Taco Hell over the years, they were right. They were right. We were there, in hell. Serving demons, wearing the skins of sinners, coming through and ordering 5-layer burritos and taco party packs. We were in hell. And one person missed out and pointed out that we weren't there. They didn't know where we were. All they knew that we wasn't there. Truly shocking. Truly shocking. Truly a revelation. I have to admit. I guess the people I worked with over the years, they were right. We were in taco hell. And I think that's the last one for real. That's the last one for real. I promise. I promise. I promise. That's the last one. But all right, yeah. This was amusing. This was amusing to experience. I'm gonna take the hat off now. But get rid of that hat hair. There we go. Now I've gotten back to, I guess I still have some of it. Looking at the big camera picture. That'll sort out when I go to bed. But that was amusing. That was amusing. We didn't game, but we did something better. We addressed the concerns of the people. The hard-working, people who spend way too much money, $810 a month at Taco Bell. This will be a fun thing to clip down and put on the channel. It's going to be a long one. It's going to be a long one on the channel. And unfortunately, my editing skills are not up to par to put some funny effects and stuff. Like do a lighting when I got into like the one reading, or putting on like a southern filter when I did that southern accent for no reason. This was amusing. I definitely enjoyed it. I'm gonna start closing stuff, but yeah, this was fun. Maybe next week, maybe we'll look at Greensburg Pizza. You know, there's none that mention me specifically. At least, you know, none that I could identify as me. But yeah, there's still some amusing reads, you know. And you know, we'll see what happens there. But until next time, I'll see you all later. Bye.